Good evening, everybody, from Tiger Stadium in Detroit. Tonight it's game 2 of a 3-game series between the Tigers and the Oakland Athletics. I'm Sean McDonough, along with Ray Knight. We're delighted to have you with us tonight on ESPN for a battle between two teams that last year were at opposite ends of the Major League Baseball spectrum. The Athletics won the World Championship. The Tigers had the worst record in baseball. They dropped 103 ball games. Oakland last year had that incredible success, despite the fact they went through much of the season without Jose Canseco. He played in only 65 regular season games. He's out again, expected back on Saturday. But even without him, they went into Chicago for the big weekend series, took 3 out of 4 from the Chicago White Sox. Even without Jose, this might be the best team in baseball.
Well, I think they're the best team in baseball because they have heart. They know how to win. They come to the ballpark expecting to win. Tony La Russa says each player mirrors each other. Carney Lansford, by far, he feels is the most consummate pro in all of baseball, coming to the ballpark, and they know that they're going to win the majority of their ball games.
And without Canseco, they still have Carney Lansford, Mark McGwire, and Ricky Henderson. Some say he's the best offensive player in baseball.
Well, I can't disagree with that. I think he's the best offensive player in baseball. Just the stats, 333 batting average leading the league, 49 runs scored also leading the league, stolen bases 31 leading the league. Just an explosive ball player on an explosive ball club.
And baseball fans should not forget about the Oakland pitching staff, certainly one of the best in baseball, led by Dave Stewart. He'll start tonight. He's won 20 games each of the last 3 seasons. Right now, he leads the American League in earned run average. He's facing an improved Tiger ball club. A big part of that improvement, Cecil Fielder.
Well, Cecil Fielder has been the Detroit Tigers. He's the big addition they've made. 61 RBIs. He's got 25 home runs, leading the league in slugging percentage, .696. Alan Trammell says without Cecil Fielder, they would be in last place.
Here is tonight's Sears Die-Hard starting lineup for the Oakland Athletics. Ricky Henderson leads off in left field. Dave Henderson in center field. Carney Lansford is the DH, batting third. Mark McGwire at first base. Terry Steinbach is doing the catching. Steve Howard in right field. Willie Randolph at second base, batting seventh. Walt Weiss is the shortstop. And Mike Gallego gets the start at third.
Defense for the Tigers, Scott Lusader in right field, Lloyd Mosby in center, John Shelby in left field, Ed Romero at third base tonight, Alan Trammell the shortstop, Sweet Lou Whitaker the second baseman, Cecil Fielder at first base, Mike Keith the catcher, and Frank Tanana our pitcher.
And the Tigers just now taking the field before a nice crowd here at Tiger Stadium. It's a beautiful night for baseball, and there is renewed interest here in the Motor City in the Tigers, as they're just 2 games under 500 after 103 losses a year ago. We mentioned the nice weather, 72 degrees, the game time temperature under partly cloudy skies. There is the slightest chance of rain, 20%. And on the mound for the Tigers, veteran left-hander, not exactly what you would call a hard thrower, Frank Tanana.
Oh, he sure isn't. He's lucky to get that fastball up to 80 miles an hour. His fastball, he turns over, throws a changeup. He just really tries to disrupt your timing. See right there, 84 innings pitched and 89 hits, so he gives up a lot of hits, throws a big tantalizing breaking ball, and the whole key is to upset that opposition's timing.
The dimensions here at Tiger Stadium. It is not a symmetrical ballpark. It is 340 down the left field line, 365 to left center. The deepest part of the ballpark, and that is certainly Death Valley, 440 feet to straightaway center field. 375 to the power alley in right center, and it's a little bit shorter down the right field line than it is down the left, 325 feet. This is a good hitter's ballpark unless you hit it on the ground. That grass can gobble up a lot of ground balls.
Well, Sparky shows you how smart he is. When he was in Cincinnati, he had a speed team. He loved the AstroTurf. He talked about being a National League manager. Comes over here as Trammell and Whitaker have gotten older. The grass has somehow mysteriously gotten longer.
They've gotten older, and the grass has gotten a little older, too, without being mowed. Sparky seems much happier this year. We know that he left for a while last year to get some rest and get away from baseball, but he looks better. He says he's feeling better, and he seems to be the old Sparky. 103 losses could make anybody feel lousy. Rich Garcia is the crew chief. He's calling the balls and strikes. Mike Riley at first base. Rick Reed is the second base umpire, and Dale Scott calls the plays at third. And we're set to go. Rich Garcia summons Ricky Henderson to the plate. Henderson and the Athletics bring baseball's best record into tonight's game. The Athletics are 42-21. That record 6 percentage points better than the Cincinnati Reds. Henderson leads the league with a .333 average, 10 home runs, including a home run in game 1 of this series last night, and he's driven in 21. He'll be followed by Dave Henderson and Carney Lansford in the top of the first. Here's Frank Tanana's first pitch of the ball game. Strike one. .43 times Ricky Henderson has started the first inning for a ball club with a home run. He looks at a ball, 1 ball and 1 strike.
Well, you're going to see the epitome of a major league pitcher right here. We talked about Frank Tanana not having great velocity, moves the ball around all over that plate, changes speeds, throws that breaking ball at about 3 different speeds.
He missed with a breaking ball, 2-1. He used to be a very hard thrower, among the hardest in baseball, but then arm troubles forced him to change his entire method and philosophy, and now he tries to get you out with the soft stuff, and he's done a fine job of it. Henderson pulls it foul down the third baseline. A count of 2 balls and 2 strikes to the first batter of the ball game.
And one thing he'll do, Sean, after throwing all that tantalizing stuff, he'll bust you inside with that fastball, and because all the other stuff is about 65 to 70 miles an hour, he throws that 80-mile-an-hour fastball, and it seems a lot faster than what it is. He will pitch you inside after throwing all those breaking pitches away.
Slowly hit on this slow infield. Ed Romero, the third baseman, didn't get him. Henderson just beat it. Henderson's at first with nobody out, and that means the Athletics are threatening to score here in the top of the first.
Well, Frank bust him inside, and this slow infield, that's one thing about it. It slows the ball down to keep the infielders able, and he's safe to make the play from right to left, but it also keeps the ball from getting out to you, and if you have good speed, it can benefit you.
Batter is Dave Henderson. He's been hot of late. He's raised his average to .251. Shows bunt and looks at a strike. Henderson has 10 homers, 28 RBI. On this road trip for the Athletics, he's gone 9 for 21. That's a .429 clip. Henderson leads the American League with 31 stolen bases. He's been caught only 4 times. If you were with ESPN a couple of Tuesdays ago for the second half of our Tuesday night doubleheader, a game between Oakland and Toronto, you saw Ricky Henderson become the American League's all-time stolen base leader, eclipsing the mark of former Tiger Ty Cobb.
And Sean, Frank Tanana has what you call just a basic average move. He doesn't have that bulk move to first base. Ricky Henderson has seen him many times. He'd get a big lead over there, basically right now one-way lead. But if Ricky picks the right pitch, if he picks that big breaking ball, he can almost steal second standing up.
Primarily because of Henderson, the Athletics score regularly in the first inning. They've scored 24 times in the first inning of 24 games, we should say, including 8 of the last 18 games they've scored in the first inning. That could be doubly a problem for Frank Tanana. Last year, Tanana allowed 31 first inning runs. That was the most in the American League. He's a slow starter, and the Athletics are notorious for jumping on the opposition quickly. Little pop-up. Lou Whitaker into shallow right field. He's doing a dance and lets it fall in. Then he got tangled up with Lusader. They still made the play at second. Looked like Whitaker did that intentionally because he wanted to get Ricky Henderson off the base paths, but Scott Lusader almost got in his way and prevented him from making that heads-up play.
Well, I'll tell you what, that is a heads-up play if he thought about that. This is the Sun field here in Detroit, and the sun just sitting back over the stadium. But he sure looked like he tried to do that, Sean.
Yeah, he was twisting and turning, but then at the very end, you saw him almost take the glove down as if to say, there it is, and I'll let it fall in because I know I can get Ricky Henderson off the base pass. Then it was a tug of war for the ball with Scott Lusader. They did get Ricky at second base, and a good play for the Tigers, intentional or not. Carney Lansford. It's bobbled by Romero. They get Dave Henderson at second. There again, the play enters into it because if that's Ricky Henderson running, the bobble by Romero might have cost him a chance to get Ricky Henderson going into second, but Dave Henderson they got with relative ease. Lansford safe at first on the fielder's choice. He's there with 2 outs. Mark McGwire, a .232 average, 17 home runs. That's third in the American League behind Fielder and Canseco. McGuire's driven in 43. That's good for 6th in the league. Frank Tanana, 36 years old. He's from Detroit, pitching for his hometown team. Nice block by Heath.
Well, because Frank's a finesse pitcher, he goes deep in the count, pitches a lot of 3-inning ball games. I mean, 3-hour ball games. A lot of 3-2 pitches, 3-1 counts. It's because he knows he has to make pitches. He can't throw the ball over the heart of the plate, or these guys will hit him pretty hard.
2-0 pitch is outside, and McGuire's ahead, 3-0. Tanana's well aware that Tiger Stadium is Mark McGuire's favorite park. He's hit .337 here lifetime in 21 games and has hit 12 home runs in 21 games here. And he walks on 4 pitches.
Well, Frank just decided there he was not going to let Mark McGwire hurt him in the first inning. He didn't give him a pitch to hit. Interesting 2-0 pitch. He threw him a turned over changeup, came back 3-0 and threw him that fastball off the plate, trying to tantalize him a little bit. But he's the type of pitcher that once he loses a hitter getting behind 2-0, 3-1, he'll just move right on to the next hitter if he thinks that next hitter is not as dangerous as the preceding hitter.
This man has been dangerous lately. Terry Steinbach, 11 for 20 on this road trip. His average up to .238. 4 homers. He's driven in 19. Runners at first and second with 2 outs. Top of the first, no score. Swing and a miss at a breaking ball. Strike 1. Over those 24 at bats, Steinbach has put together a 7-game hit streak. Lansford takes off. The pitch in the dirt. Heath thrown, not in time. Close play, but Lansford swipes third. That's his 10th stolen base of the season.
That's what I mentioned about reading the pitch. If you read the proper pitch from Tanana, and this was a changeup away, and Carney's barely in there.
McGwire stayed at first. Runners at the corners now with 2 outs. The 1-1 pitch to Steinbach up the middle, a base hit. Lansford scores, and the Athletics have a 1-0 lead. As we mentioned, they score regularly in the first, and Frank Tanana frequently has trouble in the first. RBI number 20 for Steinbach, who just extended his hitting streak to 8 games.
There's Mark McGwire. Tanana pitched around him, and Mike Steinbach answered the call.
Sixth batter of the inning is Steve Howard. He looks at a breaking ball inside. Howard's been up 9 times. He has 1 hit, a double. No homers, no RBI. He was recalled from AAA Tacoma when the Athletics sold Ken Phelps to the Cleveland Indians. Breaking ball misses. Not only do the Athletics score frequently in the first inning, but when they do, it's been a good omen. They're 32-4 when scoring first. That includes runs in innings beyond the first. When they draw first blood, they're 28 games above 500.
You know, Sean, Steve Howard spent 7 years in the minor leagues, playing 786 minor league games before he ever got an opportunity to play in the big leagues. That's persistence.
And Tanana walks Howard on 4 pitches. Bases loaded with 2 outs. 1 run in the top of the first for Tony La Russa's Oakland Athletics. He really likes his team, and you touched upon it in the opening. Not just because he has a talented collection of players, but he's so impressed with how hard they play every night.
Well, he said they weed out the people that don't fit into their type of system, guys that come out to the ballpark that you don't have to tell what to do. You put them in the lineup, they walk through one door, come to the ballpark, get dressed, they go out on the field. When the game's over, they walk out the door, and you don't have to worry about them.
Willie Randolph has had a tough time since being acquired from the Dodgers. The trade that sent outfielder Stan Javier to Los Angeles. Willie's playing in his 28th game as a member of the Oakland Athletics tonight. One ball, 1 strike. A breaking ball, 2-1. You spoke with Willie before the game. He had some interesting observations about his struggle to this point with Oakland.
Well, he said this is the first time he's been traded since he started in the big leagues. He was traded from the Pirates to New York, but he said he found himself pressing, trying too hard, trying to fit into the Oakland scheme of things. He knows he's an Oakland type player, but he just hasn't relaxed yet.
That'll help him relax. A base hit into center field. McGuire has scored. Steinbach comes in, and Oakland leads 3-0. Willie Randolph was 2 for his last 32. Before that 2-run single up the middle, he's now driven in 7 runs for Oakland.
Well, Frank just throws a fastball right out over the plate. And Willie just hits it right back up the middle, right where it came from. Frank kind of dodged that. Moves the other way, and he knocks that ball down. Willie right on top of the ball. Talked about shortening his swing. Says as a result of being over-aggressive, his swing has gotten a little long.
Now the 8th batter of the inning, Walt Weiss. He's at .294. Switch hitter has 2 homers. He's driven in 12. Three runs on 3 hits and 2 walks for Oakland in the top of the first. They're turning the tables on the Tigers. Last night, Detroit jumped off to a 3-0 lead on a first-inning home run by Alan Trammell. Rene Latchman, the Athletics' third base coach, he's been rumored for some possible managerial vacancies. Dave McKay, the coach at first. Fastball just inside.
Sean, even the coaching staff reflects the Oakland athletic way. These guys are no-nonsense guys. They come to the ballpark the same way, go about their work. Most of them lift weights, are on a weight program, a strength program. So the players see the coaches doing that, and it just sets another good example.
2-2. Heath's been busy locking balls already here in the top of the first. Runners at first and second. Steve Howard, the runner at second. Willie Randolph at first. shallow center, Lloyd Mosby. And the long first inning comes to an end for Detroit in the field as the Athletics pick up 3 after half an inning. Oakland 3 and Detroit coming up. Here's diehard starting lineup for the Detroit Tigers. Lou Whitaker leads off at second base. Newly acquired John Shelby in left field. Alan Trammell at shortstop. Cecil Fielder with 25 home runs at first base. Larry Sheets is the DH. Lloyd Mosby in center field. Mike Heath is the catcher. Scott Lusader in right field. And the third baseman is Ed Romero batting ninth.
And defense for the Oakland A's, rookie Steve Howard in right, Dave Henderson in center, Ricky Henderson in left, Mike Gallego at third base, Walt White shortstop, Willie Randolph the second baseman, Mark McGuire at first, Terry Steinbach the catcher, and Dave Stewart, right-hander pitcher, 6'2", 200 pounds. Has a fastball, excellent control, slider more of a slurvish type pitch that breaks down and away from the hitter, and a fork ball that's just outstanding. Locates it real well. Talking to Jamie Quirk, a reserve catcher on this ball club, says that Dave Stewart pitches inside more than any pitcher in the American League. And not only does he pitch inside, he tries to get you out inside.
And more often than not, he does. You saw his numbers, a 9-4 record and the lowest earned run average in the American League, 2.30. Eric King of Chicago is second at 2.41. Lou Whitaker leads off and looks at ball one. The Athletics bring a 3-0 lead into the bottom of the first. Big hit of the visitors half of the first, a 2-run single by Willie Randolph. Harry Steinbach drove in the other run with a single. And Whitaker's ahead 2-0. It's been a tough start to the season for Lou, a 186 average. He does have 9 homers, and he's knocked in 25. He's ahead 3-0.
You know, Sean, Dave Stewart has lost 3 of his last 4 outings, but the offense has only scored 5 runs for him in those 3 outings. Jumped off to a 3-0 lead tonight, and as you mentioned, he normally preserves those leads.
That's ball 4. Lou Whitaker, the lead man aboard for the Tigers in the first. Let's check in with John Saunders.
The Reds and the Braves, top of the ninth. The Braves did have a 2-1 lead, but Chris Sable hit a home run to tie it. Then Glenn Braggs scores Eric Davis. Braggs hitting over 400 since moving to the National League from the Brewers. Quinones has scored Braggs. It's now 4-2 in the ninth. Let's get back to Sean and Ray.
John Shelby, the hitter here, with Whitaker at first and nobody out. Big swing and a miss by Shelby.
Well, you'll see that a lot, Sean. He's got a great swing, very quick bat, but over in Baltimore when I played with him, they couldn't figure out why he swung through so many balls. They had his eyes checked. He has a very quick bat, a great swing, but he swings through a lot of pitches.
Last night's game against the Athletics was his first as a member of the Tigers. He was released by the Los Angeles Dodgers 2.5 weeks ago when Kirk Gibson came off the disabled list. Signed with the Tigers AAA club in Toledo and was recalled yesterday. The Tigers made several moves. Bounced in the hole. That finds its way into right field. Whitaker continues on to third. He'll get there without a throw. And here come the Tigers right back at the Athletics in the bottom of the first.
Where Stewart throws a fastball down and Shelby goes down with it. Hits the top of the ball, but just hit it right in the right spot between first and second. A lot of overspin.
Now Alan Trammell, who hit a 3-run home run off Kurt Young in the first inning of last night's game, his 5th home run of the season. Breaking ball, ball 1. Trammell has a 301 average to go along with those 5 homers, and he's driven in 38. Second on the club behind Cecil Fielder's 61. That's low, and a count of 2 balls and no strikes.
Well, Sean, Alan Trammell's been around, and he was just raving about Cecil Fielder. Darrell Evans hit 40 home runs here. He played with Kirk Gibson, Lance Parrish. He said this man has unbelievable power. He's seen him hit sliders down and away in the upper deck in right field. And finally, he said the Detroit offense is finally becoming contagious. That Cecil's been hot all year. finally guys are starting to get big hits down in the order.
Dave Stewart is one ball away from loading the bases with Cecil Fielder on deck. .30 pitch. Trammell looks at it all the way and takes a strike. And there is Cecil Fielder. He's a Triple Crown threat at the moment, leading the league in home runs and RBI, and he's in the top 10 in batting average. Full count now.
Allen just shaking his head, knowing he's one of the most patient hitters I've ever seen. You get him in a situation 3-1 like he had there, normally he'll hurt you. Very selective at the plate, always gets a good pitch to hit. Just chase that fork ball down and in there, and it fooled him a little bit.
3-2 pitch. Ripped down the line, just foul past the third base bag.
You mentioned Dave Stewart liking to throw the ball inside. This man loves the ball inside. Alex Grammas, the third base coach and longtime friend of mine, says that he feels that Alan Trammell over the last 5 years has had the quickest bat in all of baseball. Now that's quite a statement, but I played with him in '88. It was very hard to get the ball by him on the inside part of the plate.
Shelby takes off this time with a 3-2 pitch, and Trammell fouled it straight back. You had a look at Alex Grammas a moment ago, the longtime lieutenant for Sparky Anderson, and Dick Tracewski is the coach at first.
Alex, one of my best friends in baseball. I've known him for 21 years with the Cincinnati Reds when I came up in 1972.
Trammell goes deep down the left field line. Henderson back to the wall. That ball is gone. For the second night in a row, Alan Trammell rips a 3-run homer in the first inning, and this game is tied at 3.
Fastball inside. We just mentioned how quick he was, and down and moving in. But Alan Trammell with that quick bat just rode it right out of here in the upper deck.
Now Cecil Fielder.
That was not a bad pitch. That ball was well located. Down and in and moving in, probably 4 inches off the plate.
And that's been one of the impressive things about this man, too. It doesn't matter where the pitchers try to work to him. He has hit pitches seemingly everywhere out of the ballpark.
Well, I talked to Jack Morris before the game, and he said exactly that. They said that they've heard people talk about coming inside on him, but you'll notice here how far he is off the plate. If you come inside, he just takes it for a ball. Great reach.
Reaches for that one and drops it into right field. Cecil Fielder, an opposite field single, and the 4th hitter of the inning has reached without an out recorded yet by Stewart.
Well, you watch right here, fastball almost the middle of the plate, but Cecil going into the ball and almost fights it off of his fist to right field. But that's one thing that Trammell said. You talk about this man's home runs, which he has 25 and 61 RBIs, but he says he has gotten some key base hits with 2 outs by line drives to right field and center field. So he's truly a solid hitter.
Batter is Larry Sheets, the DH. He's hitting .295 in his first year with the Tigers. 4 homers. He's knocked in 16. Down to first. McGuire steps on the bag. They need to tag at second, and Walt Weiss does. A double play, 3-6, and a smooth play by McGuire, who has yet to commit an error at first base this year.
Boy, he's solid over there. This ball was hit very hard. Fastball out over the plate. Larry Sheets hits a bullet down there, and McGuire stays down on it. Comes up. You'll see where the shortstop is on the inside of the bag, which gives McGuire a good target.
Boston Red Sox manager Joe Morgan has said many times that because of McGuire's frequent long balls. His fielding does not get enough credit. In the opinion of Joe Morgan, McGuire's one of the best around the bag at first base. And he proved the point with that play.
So opinion of a lot of people. Tony La Russa says you can't throw the ball under him, and he's 6'5". You can't hardly throw the ball over him. He's got a stretch out there of about 8 feet when he stretches, so it's quite a target to throw to for your infield. And that's so important for a pitcher when you have a guy over there that can basically stop rallies as a first baseman. Infielders, they don't have any pressure. Speed doesn't cause you to have any trouble rushing your throw because you know the man's going to catch it.
2-0 pitch to Lloyd Mosby, another of the Tiger newcomers. It's in for a strike. 2-1, 2 outs, bases empty following the double play. Ball game tied at 3. Fought off by Mosby. Mark McGuire started out in professional ball as a third baseman. That's hard to imagine. Certainly the Athletics did the wise thing, sending him across the diamond.
And they said he always caught the ball. He possesses those great hands, but he had a tough time setting his feet to throw to first base. And he, one of those guys that threw a lot over there in the first base stands.
Have that man you just saw, Tony La Russa, dodging a few of those throws in the dugout. Pitching coach Dave Duncan alongside Tony La Russa. Up the middle, Willie Randolph throws him out. Well, plenty of fireworks in the first inning. Oakland scored 3 times in the top of the first. The Tigers have tied it in the bottom of the first on the home run by Trammell. 3-3 after 1. Record, by the way, for consecutive errorless games by a shortstop, 69 by Mark Belanger. And the American League record, a former Detroit Tiger, Eddie Brinkman, 72 games in 1972.
Well, when you mention hands, you cannot mention hands without mentioning Cal Ripken. He is unbelievable. Got to be that big, 6'5", the same size as Mark McGuire, and yet has the hands that he has.
Mike Gallego at 206, a homer and 14 RBI, the first batter of the second in a 3-3 ball game. Gallego's the number 9 hitter. The Athletics sent 8 men to the plate in the top of the first. Mosby drifting back. That's a ball that threatens the wall in a lot of parks, but it's 440 to straightaway center here. And a relatively easy play for Lloyd Mosby for the first out of the inning. Here at Tiger Stadium, Ray, you really need a speedy center fielder. The Tigers had Gary Pettis before Lloyd Mosby. There's so much ground out there to cover. If you have a snail, there's going to be a lot of balls dropping in that outfield.
Biggest ballpark in baseball right here. You'd think of Yankee Stadium and the depth in left center field. But this ballpark, you're talking 440 and then 415 and 400 almost in the power alleys. And if you don't have speed out there, you're buried.
Ricky Henderson looking at strike 1. Ricky started the first with his infield single. He was erased on the heads-up play by Lou Whitaker, who let Dave Henderson's pop-up fall in, and they forced Ricky Henderson out at second.
Man, that's that slow, tantalizing curveball. That ball right there is about 35 miles an hour. I don't know how it gets to the plate. Watch this break. Look at this big banana break in this ball. Ball starts about 4 feet outside, seemingly. And there it is again.
Well, the wind is blowing out tonight. If that wind were just a bit stronger, I think Frank Tanana would have a tough time getting that pitch to the plate. Just a slight breeze blowing out toward center field. Two and two.
And then he drops down, changes angles, turns over that what we call a dead fish. It's just a change up that you throw up there and you turn over a little bit. Throws from all kinds of arm angles. He actually made a real good pitch on Ricky last time. That fastball inside, he jammed him.
Ricky takes that one deep to left center field. Mosby on the run to the wall. That ball's gone. Number 11 for Ricky Henderson. And the Athletics go back on top, 4-3.
Well, Frank just grooves this ball right out over the plate. One too many breaking balls. Again, that slow breaking ball, but Ricky had seen it twice already. It's going to the well one too many times. See that little pause there as he waited on the break. That's why I think he's the best offensive player in baseball. Steals 100 bases a season. He's done that 3 times. 9 out of the last 10 years. Led the AL in stolen bases. All-time home run leader, leading off with 43. Just do so much for ball club.
That was the 12th home run given up by Tanana in 85 2/3 innings this year. Dave Henderson at the plate. 1 ball the count. He reached on the fielder's choice when Whitaker let his pop-up fall in shallow right field. Dave Henderson very much a streak hitter. Right now he's in a hot streak. I don't think Frank Tanana has received enough attention for what he has done in his career. It would be very difficult, I would think, for a pitcher who, when he arrived at Major League Baseball, earned his success with the hard stuff, throwing 95-mile-an-hour fastball. Then he hurts his arm and he does a complete transformation. Almost 2 different careers for Frank Tanana, who strikes out Dave Henderson for the 2nd out of the inning. First strikeout for Frank tonight. But it's remarkable what this man has done.
It is remarkable. You go back to 1975, 76, 77. He had a 2.63 earned run average in 75, then 2.44 in 76, and 2.54 in 77. And all 3 of those years, Sean, he struck out 200-plus batters. So he was the dominant left-hander in the game at that time, in the American League especially.
Carney Lansford to center field. Mosby with the catch. That's all for Oakland in the 2nd. But the Athletics reclaim the lead on the home run by Ricky Henderson. Middle of the 2nd in Detroit. 4-3 Oakland. Sean McDonough with Ray Knight back in Detroit. We move to the bottom of the 2nd inning. 4-3 Oakland. Dave Stewart's first pitch, a strike to Mike Heath. Heath's had a terrific year, a .347 average. He does not have enough at bats to qualify among the league leaders in batting average.
Mike's one of those guys that just seems to get better with time. He's now 35 years old. He's having a heck of a year, hitting the ball hard. Trammell again said that he swung the bat better than anybody in the club other than Cecil Fielder.
He's just getting back into action. Heath missed 7 games due to a sore side and a twisted ankle. He returned on Sunday after missing those 7 games. And he went 3 for 4 last night against the Athletics. Look out. We have to be on our toes here tonight. Tiger Stadium, far and away the closest broadcast booth to the playing field. We can hear the discussions at home plate. Here we are. And there they are, not very far away, right down the bottom of the screen. And if you don't have your head up when the pitch is on the way, you risk getting hit with a very speedy foul ball coming straight back, as that one did for Mike Heath. That's why we have your son Brooks here tonight with the glove to protect us. He'll be celebrating his 11th birthday tomorrow. We wish Brooks a happy birthday. Heath fouls it off, still 2-2.
Mike, like a lot of hitters, he likes the fastball. Excellent fastball hitter. Quick bat. Has trouble with the breaking ball, especially if you locate it middle away.
To right field, a base hit. 4 hits now for the Tigers, and they have the tying run at first with nobody out in the 2nd. What a week of baseball we have coming your way on ESPN. You'll see the first place team versus the second place team in all 4 divisions. Tomorrow night it's Boston and Toronto from the American League East. The Friday doubleheader is Pittsburgh and Montreal in the National League East, then Chicago and Oakland from the AL West. Next Tuesday our game is San Francisco at Cincinnati in the National League West. ESPN bringing you the hottest in Major League Baseball. You'll see these games in most parts of the nation. Check your local schedule for the games and times in your area. Scott Lusader has been to the plate 14 times with 4 hits, and he's driven in 4 runs. He started last night's game but had to leave after going into the stands trying to catch a fly ball, and he emerged with a bruise on his cheek. Just below his eye, we should add. Look out.
Man,
I didn't see Brooks making the play for that one.
Tell you, next time I'm coming here, I'm going to pack my leather also.
Well, Ernie Harwell and Paul Carey, hopefully we can get a shot of their booth. They are the longtime Detroit Tiger radio announcers, and they don't take any chances. After years of dodging foul balls, they have hung a screen in front of their booth, and that's the wise thing to do here. Heath at first. Nobody out in the second. There's the legendary Ernie Harwell, Hall of Fame broadcaster. And if there's a nicer man involved with this game, I have not met him.
Oh boy, I tell you, when I played here in '88, he conducted a lot of the chapel programs. You know, actually taught the Bible, and just a quality human being. One of the prized possessions that I have is one of his biographies that he autographed for me, Sean.
Well, as a young broadcaster, when I was starting out in the American League a few years ago, you can't make a better friend. Takes you by the hand the first time you come to the stadium, down to the Tiger clubhouse, introductions all around. That'll be out of play. And on top of that, one of the greatest broadcasters ever.
You know, I saw him down on the field before the game. He came up to me and he says, I haven't been able to catch you, but I've heard some compliments on your work. And he said, the biggest thing that people are saying is you're just being yourself. And he says, that's what I've always done.
That's been the key to his success, certainly. Envious of Tiger fans who had the pleasure of listening to him all these years. Lusader stings it to left. Ricky Henderson is there, and he makes the catch. Heath back to first with 1 out in the second. Here's John Saunders.
The Cardinals and the Mets at Shea Stadium. Darryl Strawberry on the bench because he'd just been caught stealing at second. Kevin McReynolds, the next batter, and the next pitch from John Tudor, and it's gone for a home run. Up in his eyes, his 11th of the season, puts the Mets on the board as they try and chase the Pirates in the National League East. Let's get back to Sean and Red.
The Mets 6 games behind the Pirates starting tonight. Your former mates are surging.
Yep, made the visit there last week, and they're very positive. I hadn't seen them in 4 years, hadn't been back to Shea Stadium, and just the attitude in that ball club. Buddy Harrelson, very upbeat and positive, very much a communicator, and went to that clubhouse, and I was really surprised at how positive everyone was. And since that time, they've been playing outstanding baseball.
Ed Romero, the hitter. He's the number 9 batter tonight for Detroit. Ed's been a utility man throughout his career and valuable in that role to several major league teams. They pitch out with Heath running, and Heath is a dead duck. Weiss was waiting with the tag. 2-6 the play, 2 outs and the base is now empty in the Tigers' second.
I just think this is a missed sign here. I believe it was the hit and run with 1 out. Eddie starts a swing and he doesn't, but you must throw the ball, bat at the ball, do something to protect a runner there. Mike Heath looking toward the plate. He's out. In that situation, even if they pitch out, you still have to do something. Throw the bat at the ball, something to try to distract that catcher.
That's a strike. 2-1 to Romero. Two and 2 now. Dave Stewart has had trouble in the past against Detroit. A 4-4 lifetime record for Stewart against the Tigers, and a career ERA against this club of 5.01. That's his highest earned run average against any American League opponent. and he has certainly labored through the first inning and 2/3 tonight. He surrendered a 3-run homer to Alan Trammell in the first, and he strikes out Romero, Stewart's first strikeout. That ends the inning. After 2, it's Oakland 4 and Detroit 3.
Cleveland, the Indians hosting the Baltimore Orioles, and Corey Snyder been watching too much of the World Cup. Watch this. Randy Milligan laces this one out to right field. Snyder reaches down to grab it as the runners advance. Steve Finley was on first trying to come home, then kicks it around a few times. Finley scores to make it 2-1 for the Orioles, but Jerry Brown has just hit a home run for the Indians to tie the game at 2-2. That's where they stand. Back to Sean and Ray in a moment, but first the Reds and the Braves in game number 1. 4-2. It's now a final. The Reds win. Norm Charlton in relief is now 5-1. Let's get it back to Sean and Ray. They'll play 2 in Atlanta.
They'll play 1 here tonight. Game 2 of this 3-game series. This series the first get-together of the season between these two teams. And Detroit won the first meeting of the year last night. They trail 4-3 as we go to the 3rd here tonight. Mark McGwire to lead off against Frank Tanana. Strike over the knees. McGwire walked as it looked like Tanana was pitching around him in the first. That really helped stimulate the Oakland rally. McGwire walked with 2 outs. That's down to 3rd. Nice play on the backhand by Romero, and he throws him out.
McGwire just smokes this ball. Romero 1 step. The ball came up. If the ball had stayed down, he had no chance. The ball came up for him, and after he catches the ball hit that hard, just rights himself and makes an easy toss. Where's Mark? Oh, there he is.
Steinbach looks at strike 1. He drove in the first run of the game. His single to center with 2 outs in the first drove in Carney Lansford from 3rd. Steinbach also scored on the 2-run single by Randolph.
Sean, you talk about this ball club. We've talked about them being explosive with Ken Seiko out of the lineup, and now with McGwire. Basically, they only have 2 home run hitters. Tony La Russa said basically Merv Retman teaches them to put the bat on the ball, try to hit the ball up the gaps, and that's exactly what happened that first inning. Sure, they walked McGwire, but then they get to Steinbach and Willie Randolph. They hit the ball up the middle, and that's how you score runs.
The 2-1 pitch is a breaking ball low. 3 balls, 1 strike.
We mentioned Jimmy Leland defining the roles with the Pittsburgh Pirates. He and Tony La Russa are very good friends. And that's exactly what Tony does here. Everybody knows their role, what type of hitter you are.
That's a pop-up. Fielder along the line makes the catch. That's in fair territory for the 2nd out of the inning.
Just think about Carney Lansford. When he hits second, he hits the ball to right field. He does whatever he has to do. Move the ball around, occasionally bunt, the push bunt. When they put him in that 3rd hole, he's there to drive in runs. So as his place in the batting order changes, his mindset changes.
Now here's Steve Howard, who walked back in the first inning. He looks at ball 1 outside.
Mentioned Steve Howard playing 786 games in the minor league, Sean. He's one of these guys that's shown tremendous promise with natural tools, but has never really done much in the minor leagues. His highest average is 285, and he's hit less than 240 6 of the 8 years he played the minor leagues.
He appears to be the likeliest candidate to go back to the minors when Jose Canseco comes off the disabled list. They hope that will happen this weekend. Sounded like a broken bat, but it's good enough for a base hit. Little looper in a shallow center. Steve Howard, a 2-out single. Tomorrow night, it's a battle between the top 2 teams in the American League East as the power-hitting Blue Jays face the Red Sox. That's at 7:30 Eastern Time, live on ESPN, or in some areas, it'll be the Baltimore Orioles and the Cleveland Indians. I think the Blue Jays would rather stay on the road. They're just 1 game over .500 this year at the Sky Dome, 17 and 16. And significantly better than that away from the Sky Dome. They're 10 games over .500 on the road at 21 and 11. Of course, they're returning home tonight to host the Red Sox off a 9-1 road trip. Blue Jays' best ever road trip. Willie Randolph behind in the count 0-2. He singled to center, driving in 2 runs in the first inning. He's hoping that will bring an end to his long drought. He was 2 for 32 before the base hit. Howard at first, 2 outs in the third. Oakland leads 4-3.
Joe, this situation, the reason Tanana's throwing over there, it's a good time to steal. You think 0-2, you might waste a pitch, but as a runner, knowing that Tanana throws about 60-70% of his pitches off speed, there's not a thing wrong with 2 outs and 2 strikes, taking a chance. If you get thrown out, Willie leads off the inning. If you don't, you got a chance now to drive in a run to give you that insurance run.
Check swing at strike 3. The second strikeout of the night for Tanana gets Frank out of the inning. After 2.5 in Detroit, it's Oakland 4 and Detroit 3. 4-3 Oakland as we move to the home half of the third here at Tiger Stadium in Detroit. Top of the order coming up against Dave Stewart. Lou Whitaker takes a fastball just a bit low for ball 1. Whitaker started the 3-run uprising in the first with a walk. He scored on the Trammell home run. It's the 57th pitch already from Dave Stewart, fouled away by Whitaker. One ball and 2 strikes.
Lou, born in Brooklyn, New York, raised in Martinville, Virginia, now resides in Lakeland, Florida.
He had a big year last year, 28 home runs, far and away his best home run year. He has really fallen off this year. Came into tonight with the 186 average. Again, he has decent power numbers, the 9 home runs, second on the club behind Fielder, and 25 knocked in. But if they're going to contend, they need Lou Whitaker to pick it up. Sparky Anderson was quite honest about it before the game. He's known for sometimes being the master of the overstatement, hype. But he said he doesn't know right now how good his team is or if it can contend. Whitaker, a well-hit ball to left center. On the run, the Hendersons, it's off the wall. Whitaker will put the brakes on at second as Dave Henderson fires it back in. A perfect one-hop throw to the bag at third. A leadoff double. And the tying run is at second with nobody out in the third for Detroit.
Fastball out over the plate that he just drills out there off the 365 sign. Ricky Henderson showing great speed just to catch up to that ball. Lou actually had a shot to be on third base. He really slowed up rounding first base after that ball bounded off the wall with both outfielders pursuing it. I thought it was going to be a triple, but I looked back and he was jogging between first and second base.
Shelby pulls it foul past first. The hits now even at 5 apiece. Shelby has one of the 5 hits, a single to right in the first, and he scored on the Trammell homer. That's what you were talking about his first time up. A wild swing and a pitch that he really couldn't do anything with.
And you'll see a pitcher go to work here. In this situation, the pitcher knows, Stewart knows he wants to pull the ball. John Shelby wants to pull the ball to get that runner over. He went with that fastball moving away from him, so that if he does try to pull it, he's going to hit that weak ground ball to shortstop.
1-2 now to John Shelby.
Oakland has a 4-3 lead. Tigers threatening in the bottom of the third. Shelby just did get a piece of that. Sparky Anderson said before the game what he most likes about Shelby is his defense. He gets to a lot of balls in center field, and we've mentioned already how important that is here at Tiger Stadium. And he also says Shelby has a strong and accurate throwing arm.
Well, he does everything well, Sean. He runs well, he throws well, he can steal you a base.
And he can look at a pitch just a little bit low and inside, 2-2.
And that's what Baltimore waited for. They were very patient with him. He shows you so many good things. He runs extremely well. I think a 6'7" runner. A strong, accurate arm, solid defense. He's got that great swing, but he's just never been able to put it together.
Now the 2-2 pitch. Struck him out. Breaking ball outside corner. Second strikeout for Stewart and the first out of the inning. Once again, here's John Saunders.
The Cubs and the Expos in Montreal. Mark Gardner pitching a good game. Andre Dawson, the Hawk, reaches out, just loops it in front of Aldrete. It scores Ryan Sandberg, the only hit for the Cubs through 5 innings. Meantime, the Expos are coming up in their half of the 5th, and Sean Bosky has a no-hitter. Let's get back to you.
What a pitcher's duel there. That's been the big surprise for the Expos. Their pitching has been excellent, and that's the big reason they're 2.5 games behind Pittsburgh. They held basically open tryouts in the spring looking for pitching help. Some surprises like Bill Sampson really helped shore up that Expo staff. Alan Trammell hit a 3-run homer into the upper deck in the left his first time up. He's up there now with a count of 1-1. One out, Lou Whitaker at second base following his leadoff double. In the bottom of the third, Oakland 4, Detroit 3. Little looper down the right field line. It's in foul ground. Neither Howard nor McGuire could get to it.
In the first inning, 3-run home run by Alan Trammell. Fastball up in the upper deck. Dave Stewart's the first pitcher to string together 3 20-win seasons since Jim Palmer did from 75 to 78. The way he pitched John Shelby shows you one of the little reasons why he's done that.
To left field, that'll fall in for a hit. Gramis is waving Whitaker in. Here's Ricky Henderson's throw, too high, and Whitaker scores. The ball game is tied at 4. Henderson's throw was strong and on the money, but just high enough to allow Whitaker to slide in. A single for Trammell in his 4th RBI of the game. He took second on the throw.
Dave Stewart throws him a breaking ball that just kind of hangs there. Allen stays on top of it. If Ricky Henderson has a weakness, it's his throwing arm. He's got, at best, an average throwing arm. He's throwing that ball there from only about 200 feet. Whitaker in there safely.
And a ball to Cecil Fielder. Cecil singled to right his first time up. The Athletics have twice taken the lead, and on each occasion, the Tigers have battled back to tie them up. Now Detroit is threatening to take the lead for the first time in the ball game. Fielder wound up for that swing and fouled it off straight back, 1-1. Alan Trammell, the runner at second. 1 out in the third. 4-4 the score. 1-1 the count. 2-1. Ray, when a pitcher like Dave Stewart, despite the fact that he's one of the best in baseball, if not the best starting pitcher, but when he has a track record of history against this particular ball club, is that something he's likely to have in his mind when he takes the mound?
I think sometimes you struggle against certain type of makeup, certain type of lineups. There's a reason for it.
Out of play, straight back.
But you tend to struggle just like as a hitter. Sometimes certain pitchers give you trouble. Certain teams give pitchers trouble.
And in this case, the Tigers. Just a .500 record for Stewart. And as we mentioned earlier, that ERA is his highest against any American League opponent. That pitch just missed. And Stewart is going to walk it off. He thought he had strike 3 to Fielder. Instead, he has a full count.
Well, that was a good pitch there. You're talking about a 2-2 perfect pitch. Fastball away. Catching Black. Dave Stewart, not an emotional sort.
The home plate umpire Rich Garcia is, and he's not the kind of guy you want to do that to. He can get angry in a hurry, as you might have found out during your career. Although you were such a gentleman, I don't think you ever had a problem with Rich Garcia. But he has a short fuse. Oh. Watch run down the Tiger radio booth and see if we can borrow the net from Ernie and Paul Carey. There's the net to protect the Tiger broadcasters. That foul ball was right in our front porch, folks. The 3-2 pitch. Tried to check his swing and couldn't. Fielder strikes out. Second K of the inning for Stewart, his third in the ball game. With the score 4-4 here, let's check in again with John Saunders.
And some great defensive play in the Cardinals-Mets game. Dave Magadan's been red hot, but doesn't get any help here. Watch Jose Oquendo. 1, 2, 3, 4 steps onto the outfield grass, turns and fires and gets him. 1-0 Mets on the McReynolds home run. Let's get back to Sean and Ray.
Well, as John says, Magadan's been hot, but that's the kind of play that can cool you off in a hurry. Larry Sheets looks at strike 1. He bounced into a double play his first time up.
What a great year Larry had in 1987 when I played in Baltimore. He hit 31 home runs that year, hit .316. We had a lot of trouble with pitching that year, and I asked Frank Robinson, would he trade, if he was a general manager, Larry Sheets for some pitching? He says, no, a hitter like this only comes along once every 10 years. You don't trade him. Here a couple years later, he was traded.
He went downhill very quickly right after that. Ray mentioned his numbers in 87 and 88. Sheets fell all the way down to 230, 86 points less. He had 21 fewer home runs, drove in 47 fewer. Last year 243, only 7 home runs. The Orioles traded him in exchange for Mike Brumley. Base hit center field, and the Tigers will take the lead for the first time tonight. Trammell scores. It's Detroit 5 and Oakland 4. Larry Sheets picks up his 17th RBI of the season.
And one of the reasons why he hit .316, he learned to go the other way. There's a ball down and away. A lot of big left-handed hitters try to pull that ball. He just went right with it. Big RBI for him.
He's at first. McGuire plays behind him. And Mosby looks at a ball. Well, Roger Clemens, leading the majors in wins, was knocked out after an inning and 2/3 last night. Dave Stewart, leading the league in earned run average, is clearly not on top of his game tonight. He's yielded 5 runs on 7 hits in 2 2/3 innings. 2-0 to Mosby. This is a rarity indeed. The Tigers with 5 earned runs, and we're only in the 3rd. Tony La Russa has his full bullpen available to him tonight, with the possible exception of Todd Burns. Burns has worked a couple of innings over the last couple of days, and La Russa said he would like to stay away from Burns, but that won't necessarily be the case. If he needs Todd Burns for a couple of outs, he'd use him. Dave Duncan seems at a loss to explain what has gone wrong for Stewart tonight. His woes continue. Second walk issued by Stewart. That'll prompt a visit from the pitching coach, Dave Duncan. Still no activity in the Oakland bullpen. A lot of people think it's just a matter of time before Dave Duncan is a major league manager. He's very highly regarded, and as we mentioned earlier, third base coach Renee Latchman has also been mentioned as a possible replacement for several managers who are rumored to be in trouble. This is, in the opinion of most people, the best coaching staff in baseball.
Well, the people that I talk to, and it just goes back to that winning situation. Whenever you win consistently, they start right at the top from the general manager right on down to the manager and the coaching staff. And other teams want a part of that winning attitude, and they usually pick staffs like this apart when it comes time for hiring new coaches and managers.
Coming up in Game 2 of our Tuesday night ESPN baseball doubleheader, it's the San Diego Padres against the red-hot San Francisco Giants. Giants absolutely amazing since the woman delivered the vial of dirt from the field in Iowa, a la Field of Dreams, to Roger Craig. They can't lose. They're now just 7 games behind the Cincinnati Reds starting tonight. Cincinnati has picked up a half game already with their winning Game 1 of that doubleheader against Atlanta. Mike Heath ahead 2-0. He's the 7th batter of the inning. He singled to right, leading off last inning. He's up with 2 outs and runners at first and second. Dave Stewart yielded 2 runs here in the 3rd. He and the Athletic trail 5-4. Now it's 3-0.
Well, he just hasn't been sharp. From the beginning of the show, we talked about the excellent control that he has. And he's just not made those pitches. When he's gotten to a count 2-2, he's made the mistake out over the plate.
Heath crowds the plate and draws ball 4. That'll get the bullpen going. Back-to-back walks thrown by Stewart. Now issued 3 in the ball game. The bases loaded with 2 outs. Scott Lusader is the hitter.
And you're talking about a man that last year in 36 starts pitched into the 7th inning 31 times. So they're not used to having to get anybody warm over there until the 7th, 8th inning with this guy on the mound.
Here's his 80th pitch of the night, and it should end the inning. Lusader with a pop-up. Ricky Henderson with the catch. The Tigers get 2 to take the lead. They also strand 3. After 3 at Tiger Stadium, it's the Tigers 5 and the Athletics 4. With Ray Knight on a beautiful night at Tiger Stadium in Detroit. A back-and-forth ball game. Oakland has twice enjoyed the lead. Now it's the Tigers 5 and Oakland 4 as we go to the 4th. Walt Weiss to lead off. He flied to center his first time up. He'll be followed by Mike Gallego and Ricky Henderson. Ball 1 high and away. Your Sparky Anderson and Tanana struggles in this inning. Do you get the bullpen up quickly now that you have the lead again? You don't want to keep giving the Athletics the lead. There's a bounding ball down the line. Shelby over to play it. Weiss has a double.
Well, knowing Sparky the way that I do, when you have a lead and the guy on the mound has struggled, throwing a lot of pitches, not throwing a lot of strikes, he normally gets that bullpen right up.
And that will be the case. Following the double by Weiss, they are stirring in the Tiger bullpen. Sparky really thinks that bullpen is the strength of the team, so he's not reluctant to go out there. They've been terrific this year, and he says no matter how the starter's going, 95 to 105 pitches, you're out of there. Turn it over to the bullpen.
Well, he said this is the deepest staff he's had in 10 years, and that's quite a statement. That man right there, Sparky Anderson, I think the reason that he has been so effective as a manager is because he knows pitching better than anybody I've ever been associated with.
Gallego shows bunt and looks at a ball. Down in the bullpen, it is Paul Gibson, a left-hander who has started throwing. He's been one of the best pitchers in baseball lately. Just 1 run allowed over his last 19 of the 3rd inning.
You know, you asked me, would he get him out of there? Don't you remember when they called him Captain Hook in Cincinnati?
Yes, I do. That's why I was surprised when he was talking with us before the game, and he said, well, it's something a little bit different around here now. 95 to 105 pitches for the starters. We take him out of there most of the time, regardless of how he's going. I said, that's different. A lot of times it was 25 to 35 pitches, and he'd have the starter out of there, no matter how he was going. Romero throws him out. Weiss took third. He saw that Romero had to come away from the bag to make the play. Tying run at third with one out here in the fourth inning.
You know what Sparky was referring to there is that he's had Jack Morris and Frank Tanana and Doyle Alexander, pitchers like that, been in the big leagues 15 years, and normally he will go out there, and he's always been a very fair man, and say, how do you feel? What do you have? And as long as you're honest with him, he'll stick with you. Now he's deciding with that bullpen, he doesn't ask too many people. If he notices a let up or a change in your velocity or location, he'll get you out of there because he has guys with better arms in the bullpen.
The graphic cited just one of Sparky's many accomplishments as a major league manager. He's done several things as a manager that no other manager has ever done. We'll detail those as the night goes along. First, Ricky Henderson up there with a count of 1 strike. He reached on an infield single in the first, and he homered his second as many nights, and his 11th of the season. A solo shot of the second. It went to left center. He's trying to tie up the ball game with a base hit. The infield is back for the Tigers with one out in the top of the fourth, and Detroit leading 5-4.
And that's something Sparky's always done. You see some managers play the infield halfway or in, but Sparky's always played his infield back early in the game. He's got a 1-run lead. At least it can be as a tie ball game, even if Ricky gets a base hit. He wants to stay away from that big inning early.
Among the things that Sparky has done that no other manager has done, he's had 100 win seasons in each league, playoff sweeps in each league, a World Series title in each league. Been the manager of the year 4 times, twice in each league. When you're used to winning all the time, 103 losses, as he endured last year, can make you very unhappy. And it did for Sparky. That call made Henderson very unhappy. He's called out on strikes. A big strikeout for Frank Tanana. It's the second out of the inning. It's his 3rd strikeout of the game. Tony La Russa now out of the dugout. And he's just grabbing the bat and the helmet at the moment, but you can't argue balls and strikes, and La Russa has to be careful as you look at the replay of the pitch.
Well, Frank has pitched Ricky inside. He jammed him the first time. Came back with a fastball in there. It appeared to be inside off the plate.
You can't argue balls and strikes, so you wonder what this conversation is about.
I don't wonder about it, Sean. I know what's happening. He got out there just because he wanted to protect Ricky Henderson. A lot of times in a situation like that, a hitter will turn around and say one thing, and he's gone. Tony La Russa walked out there, got in charge of the situation, made sure Ricky got out of there because he knows that they can win the ball game with Ricky Henderson in the game. But if he's out of the game, they'll have trouble. That's just the way he takes charge of the ball game.
A big strikeout for Tanana. 2 outs now. Still a runner at third. Walt Weiss. 5-4 Detroit in the 4th inning. And it's up to Dave Henderson to deliver the run. He's 0 for 2. Reached on a fielder's choice in the first. He struck out in the second. A strike.
That's just a great example to me when they talk about Tony La Russa being one of the best, if not the best, managers in baseball. Smart enough to go out there instantly in that situation to get him out of that situation. Because, Sean, in the heat of the battle, you're liable to turn around and say something that 5 seconds later you wish you hadn't have said. You can see in his eyes there he's a little hot, though.
I think they're still upset about a couple of the calls they felt did not go in Stewart's direction in the bottom of the previous inning.
Absolutely.
Well hit left center field. That might settle all arguments. It's gone. Just over the fence in left center field. A 2-run homer for Dave Henderson. And in this seesaw ball game, the Athletics go back on top 6-5. Home run number 11 for Dave Henderson. He's now driven in 30 runs.
One and one pitch. Frank Tanana tries to come inside, but he doesn't get it inside. Left it out over the plate. And he just hit a line shot out there right over that 365 sign.
These two managers sticking by their starting pitchers, despite the fact that neither of these two pitchers has done anything to make a positive impression to this point tonight. Each has allowed 7 hits, 6 runs on the board for Oakland, 5 for the Tigers, but it's still Tanana and Stewart matching Slaves. 1-1 the count. Tanana with his sights set on Carney Lansford, who steps out as Frank shakes off the sign.
Well, Stewart can get by not making good pitches. Frank Tanana cannot. There's about 10 or 12 difference in their miles per hour on that fastball. Frank doesn't have a lot of movement on his fastball, a little bit of movement on the breaking ball, and then setting you up with that big breaking ball. Stewart has good movement on the fastball, good movement on the fork ball. So Frank has to be almost pin perfect in order to get hitters out.
Not quite perfect with that toss. 2-2. Frank Tanana earned the unfortunate distinction of being the American League leader in losses for the decade of the 1980s. He lost 122 games in the 80s. Only one other pitcher lost more. That was Jim Clancy, who lost 126 pitching in each league.
Jeff Robinson.
He was tough last night on the Oakland Athletics. Robinson said he's been unnerved lately by trade rumors. It's really made it difficult for him to relax. But you wouldn't know it by last night's performance.
I tell you, in '88, he was as tough a pitcher in the league. He throws that split finger, and he developed that circulation problem in the end of his index finger.
In the hole, past Romero.
Excuse me, Sean. Until that time, he was as good as anybody in the American League.
I think that's going to be it now for Frank Tanana. Lansford's hit, the 8th, given up by the veteran lefty, and Sparky Anderson will go to Paul Gibson. Gibson's on as Tanana departs with the score. Oakland 6 and Detroit 5. We'll be back on ESPN right after this. Sean McDonough with Ray Knight back at Tiger Stadium in Detroit. Oakland has reclaimed the lead 6-5. Frank Tanana has been relieved by 30-year-old lefty Paul Gibson.
Paul Gibson, 6'1", 185 pounds, features a fastball that really moves, a slider more like a slurve, and a changeup, 3-pitch pitcher. And Sparky said he's really throwing the ball hard this year.
And as we mentioned while he was warming up, over his last 17 appearances, he's pitched 19 1/3 innings and has allowed only 1 run. Dropped his ERA over that time from 3.92 to the number you saw, 2.25. Pitching to Mark McGuire. He took a big swing and he missed.
Paul originally drafted by the Cincinnati Reds in the 3rd round, 1978 draft.
He inherits Carney Lansford at first. Gibson has stranded 22 of the 29 runners he has inherited. That's in our booth. Here's the gentleman who fielded the ball, one of our statisticians. We can tell you this, he did not play it on the fly. Lansford a threat to run. He's already stolen a base tonight. He stole 3rd, his 10th steal of the year. He's also been caught 9 times trying to steal. McGuire strikes out. Gibson is indeed throwing harder than he has in the past. He got McGuire on 3 pitches. 2 runs on the home run by Dave Henderson in the 4th. 6-5 Oakland.
The Angels and the White Sox as Chicago tries to roll out of a skid. Melito Perez on the mound to Dick Schofield. pops it up. Lance Johnson coming in. Won't get to the ball. Tries to pick it up, loses it, then runs into Sammy Sosa, the right fielder. In the meantime, Luis Polonia comes in to score. The Sox have lost 4 games in a row. That's why they've fallen behind the A's. Let's get back to you.
Thank you, John. This back-and-forth ball game finds Oakland leading 6-5 as we go to the bottom of the 4th inning. There's only been 2 half innings in this game without a run. The Oakland second and the Tigers second and the Oakland third. Here's Ed Romero to lead off against Dave Stewart. He takes a fastball high and tight. Romero struck out his first time up.
Sean, during batting practice, everybody was calling Ed Romero Gator, and I asked you about that, and you have a little story.
It's not necessarily a fond memory for Ed Romero. He was playing last year for the Boston Red Sox as a utility man, and a game at Yankee Stadium, Joe Morgan sent up a pinch hitter for him, and he was not very pleased about it. Came back to the dugout, took a bucket of Gatorade that was on the top step of the dugout and heaved it out onto the playing field and foul ground off third. And his Red Sox teammates started calling him Gator. It was humorous for some, but not for Joe Morgan. It really was the one incident that got Ed Romero into Joe Morgan's doghouse and ultimately led to his departure from Boston after several solid seasons as utility man. He's out on the ground ball to the right side. I don't think he'll go back and throw the Gatorade bucket this time. But he picked it up and fired it. Good distance in the Gatorade toss for Ed Romero. Of course, they called Mike Greenwell Gator on the Red Sox, so maybe Joe Morgan felt 2 Gators was one too many. Lou Whitaker stings a base hit into center field. And his perfect night continues. He's now 2 for 2. He walked and scored in the first, doubled and scored in the third.
Lou's one of those guys that comes to the ballpark. You never hear a word out of him. He just goes out, works hard, plays his position as well as anybody. 3-time Gold Glove winner.
Strike 1 to John Shelby. He singled to right and scored on the Trammell homer in the first. He looked at a called third strike in the third. The hits are even now at 8 apiece. Oakland 6, Detroit 5 in the 4th. Threw the bat at it. That's a fair ball down into the corner. The bat wound up at the pitcher's mound. Whitaker is being waved in. Now he's stopped. Alex Graham has stopped him, waved him in, and then stopped him again. The problem was when he stopped Whitaker the first time, Lou stopped running. And he couldn't pick it back up again. It's a double for Shelby. Runners at second and third with 1 out.
Stewart just throws a fastball that moves away, and Shelby hits the ball at the end of the bat and loses it. Still hit the ball fairly hard, but look at him there just letting that bat go. Reminds me a lot of Dale Murphy. But you're exactly right. Lou Whitaker rounding second base, coming to third again, started to slow, and Alex Graham was giving him to go. Saw Lou slowing up and had to stop him.
When defensive Whitaker that time, it was really stop, go, and then stop again. They'll pitch around Trammell. And that's the wise decision with the way Allen is going tonight. A home run and a single. He's driven in 4 runs and scored twice. They'll load the bases, set up a double play possibility, but they roll the dice with Cecil Fielder on deck.
Well, you mentioned a wise decision. This may be the only time this whole year that somebody has walked Alan Trammell or anyone else to get to Cecil Fielder. Number one, basically, he's a fly ball hitter, hits a lot of balls in the air. If he hits the ball on the ground, it's a double play because he doesn't run well.
I think that's why it's the percentage play. Trammell is obviously swinging a hot bat. He's had Stewart's number tonight. Now at least you have the possibility of a double play.
And the fact, too, you have to look at the ability on the mound. Tony La Russa and Dave Duncan feel that Dave Stewart has the ability to make pitches in crucial situations.
Bases loaded, 1 out in the 4th. 6-5 Oakland. Fielder a high pop-up back of the plate. Steinbach doesn't see it. Stewart does, but it doesn't matter. It's on the screen. Fielder is single to right and struck out tonight. Gene Nelson is throwing in the Oakland bullpen. The 0-1 pitch. In the hole, a base hit. Whitaker scores. Shelby's being waved in, and he will score. Here comes Detroit into the lead. 7-6.
Well, I guess that wasn't the percentage move.
Well, a lot of times they try to get the preceding hitter out and then walk Cecil Fielder, but this man is so hot. Dave Stewart reacts, sees the ball in the hole. But Cecil Fielder, just like Alan Trammell says, not only does he beat you with home runs, he beats you with quality at bats, base hits.
Runners at first and second, still just 1 out. Larry Sheets, the batter. Certainly, if it was anybody else but Dave Stewart out there on the mound, he'd be out of his ball game by now. But Tony La Russa is staying with him, despite the fact that he's given up 7 runs and 10 hits in 3 1/3 innings. Trammell at second, Fielder at first. Sheets is 1 for 2 with an RBI single his last time up. That went to straightaway center field.
Well, that's just what you call respect in this situation here. Anybody else in this staff, you can talk about Bobby Welsh or anybody else, they get in this situation, they're out of there. But Dave Stewart has been the premier pitcher in the American League the last 3 years, although he has not won the Cy Young Award. He's amassed more votes than anyone else over the last 3 years. But he is a battler. Whether the game is 1-0 or 7-6, he's going to give you everything he has, and Tony La Russa respects that. And that's one reason why everybody respects Tony La Russa.
There has to come a time, though, no matter who it is, where the manager says it's obviously not his night. But perhaps Stewart is not yet approaching that point as he strikes out Larry Sheets. 4 strikeouts for Stewart. He was the winningest pitcher in all of baseball over the last 3 seasons. 62 victories. There have been 3 other pitchers who had 4 consecutive 20-win seasons without a Cy Young Award. So much has been made about Stewart winning 20 each of the last 3 years, but not winning the Cy Young. Juan Marichal, Dave McNally, and Wilbur Wood went 4 consecutive seasons with 20 wins and did not win the Cy Young Award during those stretches. Marichal from 63 to 66, McNally 68 through 71, Wilbur Wood 71 through 74.
Sean, just a thought too, you never go out there every outing with your good stuff. There's always days that you're not going to have your good stuff. Tony La Russa talked about heart. This is why Dave Stewart has been able to win.
Lloyd Mosby to left, Henderson with the catch.
Even when he's struggled, he's done it on heart.
2 more runs for the Tigers in the 4th. After 4, 7-6 Detroit.
Hosting the Cubs, trying to pick up ground on the Pirates. Sean Bosque on the mound, throws behind Andres Galarraga. The big cat was hit once last night and claims he was thrown at 1 other time. Takes exception to this as the runners advance. A little communique with Bosque, and then the bench is clear. Chicago clinging to a 1-0 lead in the 7th. Let's get back to Sean and Ray.
Here at Tiger Stadium, look at the fellow on the left in the sweater. That's Harry Carey. Didn't realize he was from Petaluma, California. That's not Harry, but the folks in our truck think
It sure
he looks like Harry, and they're right, he does.
On to the 5th in the shootout in Detroit. Paul Gibson beginning his first full inning of relief. He came on to record the strikeout of McGuire that ended the Oakland 4th. He's working to Terry Steinbach. Ball 1 was high. That's well hit to center. On the run, Mosby still on the run. It's over his head and off the wall on a hop. And the tying run is at second with nobody out for Oakland in the 5th. I can't get over this game.
I'll tell you one thing, these guys are hammering the baseball. But every pitch it seems to be out over the plate. Again, Paul Gibson right here with a fastball right out over the middle of the plate. We said time and time again, pitchers have to keep the ball out from over the heart of the plate. And it just seemed like all night long the pitchers just have not had command of those pitches.
Steinbach's now 2 for 3. His other hit an RBI single to center in the first inning. Steve Howard walked in the first, single to center in the third. He had a conversation with third base coach Rene Latchman before stepping into the batter's box.
Being 1 run down, let's see if he tries to go the other way, hit the ball to the right side.
If he did not succeed along those lines. He pulled one foul down to Ed Romero.
That's one thing that we talk about often. It's how the Oakland A's do everything basically fundamentally right. You'll see a shot of the defense there. Basically straight away. Lou Whitaker cheating a little bit in at second base. Steinbach not having the real good wheels. If the ball was hit real hard at Lou Whitaker, possesses a great arm. Might seem to try to gun him out at third base.
The ball, 1-1. He mentioned during his first time at bat that Howard was recalled from Tacoma when Ken Phelps was sold to the Cleveland Indians. There's a fly ball to right field. Steinbach won't even try to tag as Lusader makes the catch. The power-hitting Blue Jays and the Red Sox tomorrow night in a key American League East battle. That's at 7:30 Eastern time. Kelly Gruber and Fred McGriff power that Blue Jays attack. They lead the American League in home runs. The Red Sox are not a home run hitting club any longer, but they've been getting surprisingly good pitching. That's tomorrow night at 7:30. The Red Sox and Blue Jays on ESPN. Here's Willie Randolph with a runner at second and 1 out in the 5th. Detroit leads 7-6. Gibson bluffs the runner Steinbach back into second. I talked with Tony La Russa before the game tonight about Ken Phelps. He was very pleased with the job Ken Phelps was doing. Phelps is an excellent pitch hitter, but he said in the role that he had envisioned for that particular person on his roster, he needed somebody who could play a couple of defensive positions, and Phelps was really exclusively a first baseman. The way he plays the game of baseball, he felt that a Lance Blankenship or a Doug Jennings, who can play a number of different positions as well as pinch hit, that they'd be more valuable to him. So that made Phelps expendable. But he said Phelps was a great member of the team, never complained about being used sparingly, and he was very happy in Oakland. La Russa was happy with him, but they felt they could be better served by having somebody else on the roster, and that's why Phelps has moved along. Based on what you had said earlier about Tony La Russa talking about people who do not play with intensity are asked to leave, folks around the country should not think that that was the case with Ken Phelps. Base hit for Willie Randolph into left field. Steinbach stops at third as Shelby got the ball back in quickly. Runners at the corners with 1 out in the 5th, and with Detroit leading 7-6.
And Sean, nor did I intend for it to be. It's just,
oh, I know that, but
right.
I just didn't want people around the country to think that Ken Phelps was a problem child as far as the athletics were concerned.
Well, you see a lot of movement made in ball clubs that has nothing to do with attitude. It's certainly position and ability, but one thing that Tony La Russa expressed and he's adamant about is that players on his ball club has to fit the Oakland athletic way, and that's total unselfishness, coming to the ballpark ready to play and fitting into whatever role or adjustment they have to make. And I really don't know who he's referring to. If if there is a specific case, but just the fact that that's the way it's going to be. And when you come over here, Mike Gallego is a great example of that. I talked to him before the ball game. I said, how are you feeling? He said, well, I'd like to play a little bit more, but I know my role around here, and I'm just happy to be here.
Weiss with a little pop-up in shallow center. If Mosby gets there, it probably won't be deep enough to score the run, and it will not be. Steinbach didn't even tag. He was playing about a third of the way down the line. He's still standing at third now with 2 outs. Here's John Saunders.
The Cubs and the Expos, we told you it was 1-0. Cubs trying to add to the lead. Andre Dawson pulls this one out to left field. It's a double. Mike Aldretti comes up with the ball, finds Spiko on the cutoff man, comes home to Nelson Santavania, and Mark Grace is dead as Santavania puts the tag on. It's still 1-0 in the 7th. Let's get back to Sean and Ray.
Billy Muffett, the pitching coach, is at the mound. There isn't anybody warming up at the bullpen. Just a little pep talk and strategy talk, perhaps, for Paul Gibson, the Long Island, New York native. Sparky Anderson says the key to his bullpen's transformation is confidence, that they are all pitching with confidence. And as a result, Sparky Anderson and Billy Muffett have confidence in the pitching staff. Mike Gallego, the batter. Ball 1. And Paul Gibson, speaking with him before the game, he took that a step further. He said he felt the other key for the pitching staff was everybody is healthy. Last year, they might have only 2 or 3 pitchers healthy at one time. So the 2 or 3 who were healthy would have to perform a number of different roles. One night long relief, the next night closing. Now they have 5 men who all have a certain role to fill, and they all do that very well. 1-1, the count to Gallego. And you have confidence in the bullpen too. If they were posting that kind of numbers, those kind of numbers. Gallego swung and missed the high fastball.
Well, you know, you mentioned Sparky making a lot of off-the-wall comments, but talking to us, there was no doubt in my mind that he felt totally confident about this bullpen when he said it was the best bullpen he's had in 10 years.
Gibson trying to pitch out of it. Gallego sends a foul ball out of play along right field. The ball, 2 strikes, 2 outs, runners at the corners. And those runners are Terry Steinbach at third. He started this inning with a double. And Willie Randolph at first. He reached with a 1-out single. Tigers lead 7-6. We're in the top of the 5th. You mentioned that Gallego would like to play more. He really had the chance at the start of the year, as did Lance Blankenship. Willie Randolph was acquired primarily because neither Gallego nor Blankenship did the job at the plate. And there's another example of that. Paul Gibson pitches out of trouble. The Athletics strand 2 in the 5th inning. They've now left 6 men on base. Halfway through the ball game, it's the Tigers 7 and the Athletics 6. We're back in Detroit, and it's on to the bottom of the 5th. The hits even at 10 apiece, and the Tigers lead 7-6. A strike to Mike Heath. Heath has singled to right and walked. Pulled foul. 2 strikes the count. Heath, Luceda, and Romero, the bottom third of the order, scheduled in the 5th. Dave Stewart still out there. Stewart is now past the 100 pitch mark for the ball game. And he's just starting the 5th inning. He misses low and away with ball 1.
But Dave Stewart is almost an unbelievable story. He was released by the Phillies in 1986 and signed by Oakland. And since that time, he's 80 and 43. Another foul ball right back at him.
It's getting to be not even a big event now.
You're not even jumping anymore?
No, I'm just diving for the, instead of jumping, I'm diving under the table. It seems a little bit safer. Struck him out. 1 out in the 5th. 5 strikeouts in the ball game now for Dave Stewart.
And that 80 and 43 record is due to this one pitch right here, this split finger. See how that ball just moves late? Almost just falls, the bottom falls out of it. It's amazing what one pitch has done for a guy, and this is certainly why Dave Stewart has become a big winner. Basically in the National League, fastball slider with the Dodgers and Phillies. Came up with that split finger.
Scott Lusader, it bounced up into the midsection of Randolph, but he stayed with it and threw Lusader out. Scott Lusader's now 0 for 3. What do you know? 2 outs in a row here in the 5th inning.
Sean, it's amazing how one pitch, and it's always seemingly an off-speed pitch that can make a pitcher. Neil Heaton struggled most of his career, came up with that screw knuckle change. Mario Soto, when I played with him in Cincinnati, basically fastball slider, really struggled early in his career, came up with a great changeup, and those off-speed pitches seem to make pitchers quality pitchers.
Ed Romero in the hole, 0-2. Ed's 0 for 2. He is struck out and grounded out. Romero and Lusader, the only 2 Tigers in the starting lineup, who have not reached base. Gallego is the only Oakland starter, pardon me, who has not reached base. Has me all choked up with that fact. Out of play. Down the right field line. Still 1-2 to Romero. Gallego throws him out. That's the first 1-2-3 inning for either side in the ball game. Detroit's Ty Cobb stole 96 bases in 1915, a record that stood for nearly half a century, until Maury Will stole 104. Then in 1974, Lou Brock established a new mark before he finished the season with 118. But 8 years later, Rickey Henderson would become the new single-season base-stealing king at 119. Henderson went on to steal 130 bases in 1982. And he begins the Oakland 6th inning. Detroit with a 7-6 lead. Paul Gibson has pitched an inning and a third of shutout relief. Rickey's 2 for 3 tonight. An infield single, a solo home run, and a strikeout. Facing Gibson for the first time. Rickey sends it straight back for a strike. So Rickey has raised his league-leading batting average by 5 points tonight. That's outside. Rickey Henderson, then Dave Henderson, and Carney Lansford due up in the 6th.
Talked about Rickey disputing that call in last inning. He has probably the smallest strike zone of anybody in baseball. Right on top of the plate, his head is right on that pitcher.
Sends it very high back of the plate. Heath falls down and makes the catch. He injured himself when he walked after that pop-up. He started limping after he had taken a couple of steps back toward the backstop. And that hindered his ability to backpedal. That's why he was losing his balance as he made the catch. And now he does indeed get up limping.
Sean, I think he sprang his ankle. He's had some trouble with his ankle. It looked as if when he pivoted to turn and make his first step, right there.
There it is. What a catch.
What a play. He's had some problems with that ankle. We mentioned yesterday he was out here at the ballpark. When he was running, he looked very gimpy. Said he turned it over rounding first base and has a little sprain in that left ankle. But he never took his eyes off of that ball. Tremendous concentration because he got all tangled up there. But he's a tough man. Plays as hard, some kind of intense competitor.
He missed 7 games with that sore ankle before returning on Sunday. Dave Henderson, the batter, 1 ball to count. He's 1 for 3 with a 2-run homer his last time up. That was in the 4th. One ball, 1 strike.
Sean, Dave Henderson has a .260 lifetime average, and it seems like to me that every time he comes up in a clutch situation, whether it be the World Series or the playoffs or even in games, he always gets base hits. Tremendous clutch performer.
Well, had the Mets and Ray Knight not come back in the 1986 World Series, Dave Henderson would have been the hero who was remembered instead of Bill Buckner being remembered as the GOAT.
Well, when I walked up to him today, he said, "There's the man that backdoored me for my MVP award."
And that's really true. He probably had his acceptance speech all prepared. Of course, were it not for the home run he hit in the playoffs against the California Angels, the Red Sox never would have been in the World Series.
Fastball away.
To center field. Plenty of room for Mosby. 2 outs in the 6th. The Tigers lead 7-6 here. Let's check in again with John Saunders.
And let's just remind everyone, Sean, it's the battle of the best this week on ESPN. The American League East leading Blue Jays hosting the Red Sox. They're tied 2-2 in the 8th tonight. We'll have that one here tomorrow night for you. Then on our Friday night doubleheader, the National League East leading Pirates face the Montreal Expos. Then the American League West, the White Sox in 2nd place, trailing the Oakland A's. Plenty of baseball left tonight. Back to you.
Including game 2 of our doubleheader. And next Tuesday night, we'll have the top 2 teams in the National League West. At 7:30, 1 week from tonight, as San Francisco travels to Cincinnati. Carney Lansford. Bounding ball off the glove of Romero. Trammell tracking it down in left field. Now he'll leave it for Shelby. And Carney Lansford is aboard at first. That will likely be scored a hit, his 2nd of the ball game.
Well, although the grass is high, right around home plate is hard. Carney hits this ball with a lot of overspin. Romero makes a good move on it, but that overspin sent the ball up in the air. Just wasn't able to jump quick enough. One thing you have to do at third base is have quick feet. First quick step. You also have to be able to jump quickly.
It is a hit. And a 2-out base runner for Oakland in the 6th. The Athletics trail 7-6. Mark McGwire takes the ball high. He walked and scored in the 1st. He's bounced out and struck out since then. He was the first man Gibson faced when Paul came into the 4th. With a runner at first, 2 outs, and he struck out McGwire to end the inning.
As you see Carney Lansford there, I just can't get over how much respect Tony La Russa has for him, not only as a player but as a man.
Mosby again. That's all for Oakland in the 6th. After 5.5, still the Tigers 7 and the Athletics 6.
A's will hang on to lose tonight. Lance Johnson here sends this one out to Luis Polonia. Remember Little League? Look what I found. Polonia turns his head as he loses it, and the light still comes up with it. But the next two batters would reach, one on a Luis Polonia error. Then Dan Pasqua comes to the plate to face Kirk McCaskill. This one looks like it'll get over the roof. It settles for the upper deck. The 3-run home run puts the White Sox up 3-1. Should they hang on to win and the A's lose, the lead would be back to 3. Back to Sean and Ray.
And we should add that the Athletics and White Sox will get together again this coming weekend in Oakland. Jeff Torborg said he was pleased with the way his club played last weekend, despite the fact that they dropped 3 out of 4 to the defending world champions. Lou Whitaker at the plate. He's quickly behind in the count 0-2. It's the top of the order in the 6th for the Tigers as they try to build on a 7-6 lead. Whitaker's had a perfect night. He's walked, doubled, and singled, and he has scored 3 times. Foul ball down the left field line.
Jamie Quirk talked about Dave Stewart throwing inside. He likes to throw inside. I haven't seen that tonight. He's basically gone away with almost everyone.
And he went away again and missed. 1 ball, 2 strikes. That'll be out of play. One ball, 2 strikes to Whitaker. He'll be followed by Shelby and Trammell. Slapped up the middle. Weiss throws him out. All of a sudden, Stewart has retired 6 in a row. Down in the bullpen, Gene Nelson is throwing. He was up last inning. Now John Shelby, 2 for 3 in his 2nd game as a Tiger. He has singled and doubled and scored twice. He was called up from Toledo yesterday when the Toronto Blue Jays claimed Kenny Williams on waivers. That's line to right, and it sinks and falls in front of Howard. John Shelby is becoming an instant fan favorite here in Detroit. A home run last night, and he's 3 for 4 tonight.
Dave Stewart, fastball again right over the plate. Shelby with that quick bat. But see how he doesn't keep his head on the ball? That's one reason why he swings and misses a lot. He has a tendency to pull his head off the ball. Showed real well right there. His head tends to slide with his front foot off the ball. That's why he swings through a lot of pitches. He hasn't been swinging through many in the last couple of nights.
Oh. And he's really only here because, as we mentioned, Williams was claimed off the waiver wire by the Toronto Blue Jays. The Tigers had placed Williams on waivers hoping that he would clear and they'd be able to send him down to Toledo with Gary Ward coming off the disabled list to take his place. Alan Trammell, a 3-run homer in the 1st, an RBI single to left in the 3rd, and he was intentionally walked in the 4th. Stewart's now given up 11 hits. Dave Henderson in right center. 2 outs. We're in the 6th. Detroit leads 7-6. Tigers made another move yesterday. They acquired Darnell Coles from the Seattle Mariners in a trade that sent outfielder Tracy Jones to Seattle. The 2nd tour of duty for Darnell Coles with Detroit. Many people were surprised because he had some unpleasant things to say about his situation with the Tigers as he departed after his 1st stint in Detroit. Sparky Anderson says he's now 28 years old. He's a different man. Bygones are indeed bygones, and It's a fresh start for Darnell Coles, and he's not in there tonight, but they expect him to be a key part of this team. He will likely bat fifth, right behind Fielder, and the opposition starts a left-handed pitcher. The 1-0 to Fielder. Inside, 2-0.
Just another example of the type of man that Sparky is. Darnell did have problems here, had a lot of trouble defensively, didn't feel comfortable playing third. He was asked to play there. He became very frustrated, and they knew it, so they moved him on. Now, as a 28-year-old, he's much more matured.
On the ground to Weiss. He goes the short way to Randolph. That ends the inning. After 6, still 7-6 Detroit. Back in Detroit, and after a wild start to this ball game, it has settled down. Nothing but goose eggs over the last 2 innings for both sides. And Terry Steinbach begins the 7th against Paul Gibson, who's worked 2 1/3 innings of shutout relief. Steinbach's 2 for 3. An RBI single in the first. He doubled leading off the 5th, and he was stranded. Oakland left 2 men on in the 5th inning. Paul Gibson says that the attitude on this Tiger team is completely different. He said last year, as you might expect, losing 103 games, they almost came to dread coming to the ballpark. He really credited the infusion of Tony Phillips from the Athletics and his winning attitude, and also the addition of Lloyd Mosby, who played on several winning teams with the Toronto Blue Jays, and Larry Sheets, who was part of a winning team last year in Baltimore. He said those guys came in here, they didn't know anything about what happened here last year, and they weren't going to allow the rest of the Tigers to start this season with the same losing attitude they ended last season with.
And that's what tore Sparky apart last year after having all those years of winning season, blessed with great ball clubs in Cincinnati with tremendous ability. Basically, although he's a great manager, just throwing up the lineup every day, and those everyday guys going out and winning 100 games. And coming here, inheriting a great young ball club with the Lance Parishes and Alan Trammell's and the Whitakers and the Morrises and the Petries. He made a major adjustment in his attitude. When he was with Cincinnati, he basically threw the boys out there. He didn't say a whole lot to the young players. He communicated a lot to the minor leaguers. But once you're a utility player with the Reds, he didn't say a whole lot to you. He always devoted his time to the big boys. It was funny how he made the transition when he came over to a ball club with a lot of young talent, how he became a communicator. Showing you a little bit about his ability to adjust to the situation.
The Detroit Tigers, second most successful team in the 80s, behind the Yankees. Tigers averaged 84 wins a season. Steinbach still up there with a count of 1 ball and 2 strikes. Sparky Anderson now the second winningest manager in Tiger history, behind Hall of Famer Huey Jennings. Huey Jennings was a lawyer manager, one of 5 now in Major League Baseball history. Tony La Russa is the 5th lawyer to manage at the Major League level. And he joins pretty good company. In addition to Huey Jennings, the other 3 lawyer managers who have preceded La Russa are all in the Baseball Hall of Fame. The others, Monty Ward, Miller Huggins, and Branch Rickey.
So I guess the gist of that is go get your law degree, become a manager, and you go to the Hall of Fame.
That's
huh?
right.
All right. 7 years away from a law degree and another 7 years away from getting a major league job.
Well, these days you'd have to be a pretty successful lawyer to make the money that a major league manager makes. A lot of pressure with the position of being a big league manager, but now the financial rewards are considerable.
Sean, Terry Steinbach showing you why this Oakland Athletic Club is so tough. Tremendous at bat. 1-2, battling back to 3-2.
Trammell throws him out. But you're right, he battled Gibson tooth and nail throughout. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of Major League Baseball and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form without the expressed written consent of Major League Baseball. One out in the 7th. 7-6 Detroit. Here's Steve Howard. He's walked, singled, and flied to right. 1-0 to Howard. One ball, one strike.
Sean, I think one of the toughest things to do coming up in the minor leagues, everybody wants to hit home runs. And I think one of the toughest things is learning what type of hitter you are. Merv Retman, just like Dennis Menke, a former hitting coach of mine, who has changed Lenny Dykstra a little bit, got him swinging down on the ball and hitting close to 400. Believes in hitting the ball the opposite way. Once you get 2 strikes, give up a little bit. Battle that pitcher, go deep in the count, make him make a mistake. Knowing that Canseco is a home run hitter, they know that. He's going to strike out a lot. Mark McGwire is going to strike out a lot. But that's what impresses me about this ball club and their coaching staff. They all have an idea as to what they need to do, and they do it.
And Howard strikes out. Gibson got him with the breaking ball. 2 outs in the inning. We're at Tiger Stadium in Detroit. Game 1 of our Tuesday ESPN Baseball Tonight doubleheader. Tigers trying to make it 2 in a row over the defending world champions, and they lead 7-6 with the bases empty in the top of the 7th. Willie Randolph, the batter. Well hit ball toward the gap in left center field, way back, and that ball is off the base of the wall. Randolph strolls into second with a stand-up double.
Paul Gibson starting him off with a fastball away. Ball getting over the heart of the plate. Willie just really driving that ball hard to left center field. 2 out base hits. It's key to any winning ball club. Now 2 out double. See if Walt Weiss can pick him up.
Weiss a double in 3 trips tonight. He's also scored. Well, win or lose, this has already been a bright night for the Athletics as far as Willie Randolph is concerned. Oakland and its fans waiting for Randolph to get on track offensively. But he's 3 for 4 tonight. One and one now to Walt Weiss.
You know, you mentioned winning attitudes. You look at Willie Randolph, 6-time All-Star, played in 4 World Series. When I think of winners, I think of that man right there. And that's one of the reasons why Tony La Russa acquired him.
Gibson misses outside with the breaking ball. 2-1. Might have been a cross-up as he kind of stabbed at the pitch, and now he's talking things over with Paul Gibson.
Either that, or he thinks maybe Willie, being the veteran that he is, may have figured out what sign. They usually use sometimes a second sign, sometimes a first sign after 2, or a first sign after 1, whatever the indicator is. Sometimes they use outs as indicator. First sign after the number of outs. They think that guy out at second base has any clue as to what's coming. They get together and make sure they both know what's going on out there.
Down the right field line, long run for Scott Lusader. He leaps and makes the catch. That's a fair ball catch, says first base umpire Mike Riley, and it keeps the Tigers on top. 7-6, 7th inning stretch at Tiger Stadium.
ESPN Baseball Tonight, brought to you by Mitsubishi, bringing you a full line of award-winning automobiles. See them all at your Mitsubishi Motors dealer. By the makers of Cruex, the #1 cure for jock itch. By Bud Light, everything else is just a light. And by Denny's Restaurants, where you'll find the famous Grand Slam breakfasts. Come in and try them soon.
Tigers batting in the 7th. Dave Stewart still out there, and Larry Sheets fouled the first pitch away. 7-6 Detroit. The Athletics out hitting the Tigers 12-11. Stewart's allowed only 1 hit and 1 base runner over the last 2. Sheets 1 for 3 with an RBI single to center in the 3rd. He's also bounced into a double play and struck out. This is the 127th pitch of the night from Dave Stewart in the dirt. Well, Tony La Russa's first act as manager was putting Dave Stewart into the starting rotation on July 29th of 1986, and he has not missed a start since. Sheets with the looper over the head of Weiss into the gap in left center. Sheets is going to try for 2. Ricky Henderson's throw, safe. The throw is to the outfield side of the bag. Sheets went sliding toward the infield, and he avoided the tag from Willie Randolph.
Good aggressive base running. Ricky Henderson comes up and makes a perfect throw, a little bit to the right field side of second base. Willie turns around and makes a quick tag, but Larry Sheets sliding to the inside part of the bag as he sees Randolph stretch the other way, beats the tag.
Good call by Rick Reed right on top of the play. Foot just did beat the tag. Lloyd Mosby 0 for 2 with a walk.
Last time in this situation, Dave Stewart did not throw any pitch middle in. With a runner on second base with no outs, he pitched the hitter away. Let's see if he changes a little bit up on Lloyd Mosby.
Goes away and hits the outside corner. Strike 1.
He's just bound and determined to not give up that easy run by getting that runner over to third base with less than 2 outs.
Mosby squares the bunt, takes it back, and looks at a ball high and away.
This situation, Mosby basically a pull hitter. You look for a pitch middle in that you can pull. If that pitcher's going to throw you away, you just take it. Look for that pitch middle in, pull it, get that runner over to third base.
A bunt foul.
And that's something that Sparky doesn't do too often. Usually very, very aggressive, especially with a matchup right-handed pitcher against a left-handed hitter that pulls the ball well. And Lloyd basically a pull hitter.
Gene Nelson up for the 3rd time tonight in the Oakland bullpen. Check swing and a foul ball into the Tiger dugout. Tigers also have activity in their bullpen. Mike Henneman, their closer, has started warming up. The Tigers with the lead in the late stages of the ball game. We're in the bottom of the 7th. 7-6 Detroit. Nobody out. Sheets at second, following a leadoff double. And a count of 2-2 to Lloyd Mosby with Mike Heath on deck. In the air to left field. Ricky Henderson just in front of the warning track. He makes the catch, and Sheets holds at second. 1 out of the 7th. Here's John.
In Cleveland, the Orioles and the Indians, Candy Maldonado against Williamson. takes this one out to right field, opposite field blast, or so it seems. But Joe Orsulak is back there at the track, skips back to the wall, goes up, and robs Maldonado of a home run. The Indians are still clinging to the lead. It's 4-3 in the 8th. Let's get back to Sean and Ray.
The Orioles haven't had the same success as a team as far as wins and losses are concerned as they had last year, but they're playing the same kind of defense that had them contend all of last year. Mike Heath, 1 for 2 with a single. He's also walked. Chopped down to third. Gallego. 2 outs, and Sheets is still standing at second base.
Look at that play right there. Gallego playing back. If Stewart doesn't do his job by pitching Mosby away and making him fly out in left field, that ball right there with the infield in, which certainly they would have been down 1 run, could have been trouble. That shows you why Dave Stewart has won so often, because he knows how to pitch. He knows what to do in certain crucial situations.
Scott Lusader, 0 for 3 tonight. One and 0 to Lusader, who's appearing in just his 7th game of the season for Detroit. He has spent most of 1990 with the Toledo Mud Hens of the International League. 2-0.
Scotty, a graduate of University of Florida. Degree in marketing there, led the Gators to the SEC championship in 1984.
Speaking of the college baseball scene, our colleague from ESPN, Larry Sorensen, former fine Major League pitcher, just stopped by the booth. Nice to see Larry. He did a terrific job along with all of our ESPN crew on the College Baseball World Series.
He
The
sure
boys
did.
from your home state, the surprise winners, the Georgia Bulldogs.
Well, that's what happens with pitching and defense. The Chicago White Sox are staying in the race. They're 11th in runs scored, 12th in home runs. But yet, with good pitching and good defense, you can stay in a lot of ball games.
The 2-0 to Lusader is a ball low, 3-0, and Romero waits on deck.
Well, I think Jamie Quirk misinformed me, because he told me to look for a lot of pitches inside tonight, and all I've seen is fastballs away.
Well, maybe that's why Stewart's had a problem. The walk is the 5th he has thrown. One of those an intentional walk. Runners at first and second with 2 outs in the Detroit 7th. Tigers leading 7-6. Ed Romero was the next scheduled batter, but Dave Bergman is going to bat for Romero. Romero was 0 for 3. Bergman at .262 for the year, a homer. He's driven in 8. He's 3 for 14 as a pinch hitter. Coming up immediately following this ball game, a battle in the National League West. Candlestick Park in San Francisco. The sizzling Giants play host to the San Diego Padres. Chris Berman and Tommy Hutton standing by to bring you all the action. Chris probably had to hustle out to Candlestick after his tour of duty over the weekend at Medina, covering the U.S. Open. And I'd say this, Chris covers golf a lot better than he plays golf. He could use your help, Ray.
No, I stink.
Here's Bergman. Now Stewart steps off. Sheets the runner at second. Lusader at first with 2 outs.
Dave Bergman, you talk about consummate pros. This man is just a manager's dream. Prepares himself to play dead fastball hitter, likes the ball down. will hit the ball all over the ballpark. Loves to hit that fastball.
Pitch number 141 from Stewart, a strike.
That's a lot of pitches. You know, we talked earlier about Tony La Russa staying with Dave Stewart. Dave's had 30 complete games the last 3 years, but few times has he given up 12 hits and 7 runs by the 7th inning. Came into the night leading the American League in earned run average.
Now the 0-2 pitch. Slap towards second. Randolph shuffles to Weiss for the force on Lusader. That ends the inning. The Tigers leave 2. They've now stranded 8. After 7 in Detroit, the home team has a 1-run lead. Back in Detroit, where the Tigers take a 7-6 lead into the 8th inning. They have a new third baseman. Former Oakland Athletic, Tony Phillips. Now at third base. He has started every game for the Tigers this season, except the 2 games in this series. He's had a tough battle with bronchitis. Here's Mike Gallego. Gallego was a beneficiary of Phillips' move from Oakland to Detroit. He's seen more playing time. He's 0 for 3 tonight. Tony Phillips says that the bronchitis, which has bothered him for about 3 weeks now, is so bad that he gets winded just running out to his position in the field.
Wow. And Tony knows these guys better than anybody. Look at him right on top of Gallego there, so he must know that Gallego can, drop a bunt. Because he is right on top of him.
Gallego really now becomes the man to do for Tony La Russa what Tony Phillips has done over the last several years. Play a number of different positions, not necessarily play every day, but be ready when called upon.
And Tony La Russa said that the guy that they would miss most, not Dave Parker, not Storm Davis, but was Tony Phillips.
Paul Gibson missing high and tight. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Gallego, then the Hendersons, Ricky and Dave, scheduled in the 8th inning. Toward the gap in right center. Lusader has the only shot at it. He can't get to it. It skips past him all the way to the wall. Gallego will try for third with his team down by a run, and he is out. Oh, a terrible base running decision by Mike Gallego. He made the first out of the inning at third base in the 8th inning with his team down by a run. That's inexcusable.
Well, 2 things, Sean, in this situation. Outfielders are basically playing no doubles. Lusader takes a funny angle at this ball, and then you see him start back at it. The ball gets by him. Gallego having a sure double. But as he started around second base again, like Lou Whitaker, he slowed down. And by this time, when Alan Trammell gets the ball, he's about 20 feet from third base, and he's out by 10 feet.
You have to stop at second. Unless you can walk into third standing, you have to stop at second.
You absolutely do, and you cannot ever look at the third base coach when the ball's right there in front of you. The only time you look for the third base coach to help you is when the ball's hit down the right field line behind you. Any other time, the ball's right out there in front of you. When you get halfway to second base, you see what position that outfielder is, and you make your decision to go to second or go to third.
The Gallego double gets Gibson out of the ball game. What a great job he did. 3 2/3 shutout inning. Mike Henneman's on. We'll be right back. Look for the sky. 7-6 Detroit. Oakland and Mike Gallego running out of a possible situation to tie this ball game.
Well, he should never look back here, Sean. He should already have his mind made up. When he gets halfway to second base, then he stumbles again. You see Alan Trammell position himself perfectly. Cardinal sin, you never get thrown out at third base with nobody out. You just don't do it.
Not with your team trailing by a run in the 8th inning, certainly. You really should never do it, but especially not in this situation. Mike Henneman, the 3rd Tiger pitcher of the night. He is their ace closer. And he is a very tough act to follow. Paul Gibson worked 3 2/3 innings of shutout relief. He allowed 5 hits, didn't walk anybody, struck out 2. Gibson has now allowed just 1 run in the last 23 innings he has pitched.
I used to hit against Mike Henneman. See him 39 2/3 inning, 32 hits in spring training, and he was nasty. He's one of these guys that drops down. He's 6'4", 205 pounds, but he gives you a lot of motion and then really jumps at you. And then that ball really bores hard in your hands. A real heavy ball, but that a ball that moves late in the strike zone. And when you hit it, if you don't hit it just right, it really stings your hand.
And he does the unpardonable. He walks Ricky Henderson, who represents the tying run with 1 out in the top of the 8th. Detroit leads 7-6. Billy Muffett, the pitching coach, back to the mound.
Billy Muffett, a master of picking up flaws, Sean, and works so closely with these pitchers, they just think the world of him.
And as they talk it over, we'll check in again with John Saunders.
Moments ago, we told you the Indians led 4-3 in the 8th. Their ace, Doug Jones, out of the bullpen trying to nail it down, but Cal Ripken fights the pitch back up through the box. Mickey Tettleton comes in to score from second. The Orioles tie the game. It's in the bottom of the 8th, and the Indians are threatening now against Greg Olson. Let's get back to Sean and Red.
That's big news indeed. Anytime anybody is threatening against Greg Olson. Mike Henneman, 15 saves and 17 save chances this year. And like Paul Gibson, he's been especially good lately. Here's Dave Henderson, 1 for 4 with a 2-run homer in the 4th. That came at the expense of starter Frank Tanana.
Sean, I don't look for Ricky to wait too long here in stealing, although Mike Heath led the American League last year in assists. Ricky Henderson's still on anyone. He's the type of guy that you well know, as the nation knows, takes off anytime, especially when he's down 1 run and needs to get a guy out there in scoring position. But Henneman a little slow to the plate, showed you that big kick of his, that big body turn.
We mentioned earlier tonight, Ricky Henderson leads the league with 31 steals. He's only been caught 4 times. He's only been thrown out by a catcher 3 times. He's also been picked off once by a pitcher. That went down as a caught stealing. The catchers to throw him out, Bob Guerin and Sandy Alomar. They threw him out at second base, and Rich Gedman, who was then with the Boston Red Sox, threw him out trying to steal third.
Just a good example of why I think Ricky Henderson's the best offensive player in the game, because he always just creates havoc out there. Defensive players have to play a little shallower. They have to get rid of the ball a little quicker. Catchers are so aware of him. Pitchers can't throw that hard breaking ball sometimes.
One and 0 the count to Dave Henderson. Henneman struggling to find the plate. He's coming on for Paul Gibson. Ball 2, says Rich Garcia. There's a strike. 2-1 to Dave Henderson. Ricky Henderson at first with one out at the top of the 8th. Detroit leads 7-6. All of the scoring in this game came in the first 4 innings.
Fastball away. And again, that works for Dave Henderson's advantage. You don't think they're concerned? That's the 4th timeout.
Heath was smoothing out the ground in front of him. You don't think he's anticipating having to come up throwing here in a moment or two. Strong move by Henneman. He fired a bullet over to first, and Ricky just did get back standing up.
Well, that's the first time he's really tested him. Basically, everything else has been kind of a easy blasé move. Here he turns the wheels and throws. Ricky a little late getting back.
Ricky stole a base last night. He had gone 3 games without a stolen base prior to that steal last night. That's the longest stretch without a stolen base this season for Ricky. But he's been bothered recently by a sore hip. He said he thought about asking for a day off and then decided against it, particularly because the Athletics were playing that important series against the White Sox.
Another fastball away. He's not going to throw that fastball away. Mike Heath wants it out there, and I tell you, the more he throws to first base, the better chance Ricky will have to steal, because he'll seen every move that he's had. He's looking for his first move, whether it's the break of his hands or the break of his knee, his left knee.
Ricky takes off, swing and a miss. Heath's throw hits Henderson and kicks out into shallow left, and Ricky goes to third. That'll likely be scored. A stolen base for Henderson, his 32nd of the year, and then an error on Heath, allowing Ricky to take third.
Well, by this time, Ricky has him figured out, and as soon as that front knee bends, he goes. And that's the first thing that usually moves. The first move is that left knee bending. Mike Heath coming up and doing everything he can. But Ricky Henderson already there before the ball hits her. Actually hits him on his heel of his foot.
That is indeed the scoring. A stolen base for Henderson and an error on the catcher Mike Heath. Ricky's at third, the tying run. 90 feet away with one out in the top of the 8th for Oakland. 7-6 Detroit. 2-2 the count. Struck him out.
We mentioned the great movement on this fastball. Look, this is a fastball that starts the middle of the plate. Look at that late movement down and in. That'll tie most anybody up when it moves that late. He throws about 92 miles an hour with that kind of movement. That's why he's so nasty.
We realize some of you might be joining us expecting to see San Francisco and San Diego. We'll be going to that ball game as soon as this one is finished. Chris Berman and Tommy Hutton standing by at Candlestick. Carney Lansford singles in each of his last 2 at-bats. He reached on a fielder's choice and scored a run back in the first.
And Tony Phillips again. I've seen Carney Lansford in 4 or 5 occasions drop down bunts. with 2 outs. Tony Phillips is thinking the same thing. Now he moves back.
A strike. Would he have moved back figuring that Lansford looked down there originally to see where he was, but once the pitcher had come set, all Carney was thinking about was Mike Henneman, and that could allow Phillips to sneak back.
Absolutely. I used to do the same thing. You'd want him to look down there, and usually a hitter, when he's going to bunt, he looks down there and it comes into his mind because you're back. If he looks down there and you're up close, then he looks back to the pitcher and he never thinks about it again, and that's exactly what Tony Phillips is doing.
Now the 0-2. Lou Whitaker throws him out. And the Athletics leave Ricky Henderson standing at third. Mike Henneman pitches out of trouble. On to the bottom of the 8th, 7-6 Detroit. Tonight's Budweiser storyline from Detroit. A back-and-forth ball game. All of the offense early and plenty of it. Alan Trammell has driven in 4 runs with a home run, a 3-run shot in the first, and a single. Cecil Fielder is also knocked into. That came with a single to left in the 4th. He has 2 hits tonight. And Mike Gallego made what could loom as the biggest play in the ball game, and not an intelligent one. He started the 8th inning with a double, what should have been a double, into the gap in right center, but he decided to try for third. He was thrown out, and what would have been a good chance to score went by the boards for Oakland in the top of the 8th. As it was, they still had Ricky Henderson at third and 1 out, and couldn't get him in. New pitcher, finally, for Oakland as we go to the bottom of the 8th. After 143 pitches from Dave Stewart, here's Rick Honeycutt.
Rick Honeycutt, fastball that he turns over, a slider that's more like a flat cutter, a curveball, and a changeup that moves into the left-handed hitter.
And he's pitching to left-handed hitting Lou Whitaker, who was 2 for 3 against Stewart, and on board 3 times. He walked and scored in the first, doubled and scored in the third, singled and scored in the 4th. Last time up, he bounced to short. Little lob in a shallow left. Ricky makes the catch. Dave Stewart tonight, 7 innings. He allowed 7 runs, all earned on 12 hits, walked 5, one of those an intentional walk, struck out 5, gave up the home run to Trammell, and threw 143 pitches. No wonder the players like Tony La Russa. Even though Stewart didn't have his best stuff, Tony gave him every chance to win this game.
Well, he sure did, and we talked about him earning that. And that's why everybody likes Tony La Russa, because he treats you like a man. He has confidence in you and shows confidence. Even when you struggle, he keeps giving you that opportunity time and time again. And Dave Stewart, after the 4th inning, really settled down and didn't have the command, but he kept him right in the ballgame.
John Shelby at the plate. He's had another big night in his 2nd game as a Tiger. 3 for 4 with 2 singles and a double. He has scored twice. For Detroit, it's 7 runs on 12 hits. They've committed 1 error. For Oakland, 6 runs, 13 hits, and no errors. Shelby, a switch hitter, batting for the first time tonight from the right. Oh, we've been complaining all night long about speedy foul balls into our booth. That one was one of the hardest hit balls of the night, right into the Tiger dugout.
Let me tell you something. You don't see that happen too often when a hitter pulls a bullet into that third base or first base dugout. You have to have an exceptionally quick bat in order to hit that ball there, and usually that ball is usually about 4 or 5 inches inside in order to do it. But look at that angle, how far you had to have that bat out front.
That's not the way to make friends with your new teammates. 1-2 the count to Shelby.
That also shows me if he throws him a changeup here, he's dead.
That's an easier chance for the folks in the Tiger dugout. Jack Morris. Again, we remind those of you who are tuning in expecting to see San Francisco and San Diego will be going to Candlestick immediately following the conclusion of Game 1 of our ESPN Tuesday night doubleheader. Shelby lays off the ball low and away.
Sean, Honeycutt last year was used mainly in a setup role for Eckersley, but when Eckersley went out, he saved 10 games into 10 opportunities that he was put out there in the closer role.
He's fallen into a full count with John Shelby. Alan Trammell is on deck.
I remember Rick Honeycutt evaluating himself, saying if the hitter does not take me to right field, he has no chance, because he throws a lot of those dead fish changeups away, fastballs that moves away. If you don't think about right field on him, he'll get you out.
And he strikes out Shelby. Stayed away from John Shelby, who couldn't catch up to him. 2 outs in the 8th. 7-6 Tigers. Here's John.
The Angels and the White Sox tied at 3. The White Sox trying to end a 4-game losing streak, but Devon White deposits this one to left. Chili Davis comes in, Donnie Hill as well. White would be tagged out trying to go into third, but still 5-3 is the lead in the 7th inning. The White Sox would lose their 4th straight, all at home. Back to Sean and Ray.
The White Sox, of course, the nearest pursuers of the Oakland Athletics in the American League West. The batter here is Alan Trammell. 2 for 3 with a 3-run homer in the first and an RBI single in the third. He scored twice. He's also been intentionally walked. Down in the Tiger bullpen, left-hander Jerry Don Gleaton has been throwing. He's standing and watching at the moment. The 2-0 pitch. Down to Gallego. He can't come up with it. Tricky hop, and Mike Gallego could not make the play.
Well, Mike did everything he could here. We talked about the hard dirt around home plate. Trammell pounds this ball in the dirt with tremendous overspin. And the only thing you can do as a third baseman is react to the ball. And with that overspin, it has a lot of bite and a lot of spin. He didn't catch it on the short hop, and it ate him up.
The 7th error committed by Gallego this year. That's tops on the Oakland team. A ball to Cecil Fielder. The fans are delighted because the error created the situation for an extra at bat for Cecil. He's 2 for 4 with 2 singles. He's driven in 2 runs. Trammell at first. 2 outs of the 8th. 7-6 Tigers. Each side has now committed 1 error.
He lets it go, doesn't he, buddy?
All you can do is chuckle.
Well, he gets his weight set back and starts the bat as well as anybody I know. A breaking ball, and Cecil just lets it go. You talk about this guy being heavy, but he's very, very solid. Very strong thighs, tremendous biceps.
And he hits a very high pop-up. Walt Weiss makes the catch. And we go to the 9th. Detroit 7, Oakland 6.
But first, let's update the scores from around the rest of the American League and National League. And we'll start things off in Cleveland, where the Indians have beaten Baltimore. 5-4 is now the final. Boston with 2 in the 9th over Toronto, 4-2. Now just a game back. California leads Chicago as the White Sox try and avoid their 5th straight loss, all at home. Seattle down to Kansas City. It's 2-1 in the 7th. Eisenreich and Seitzer with the RBIs in that game. Mel Hall with a 2-run home run. The rain delayed in the 7th in the Yankee game. Cincinnati won the first of 2 against Atlanta. They're down 3-0 in the 2nd. Chicago beats Montreal at the Big O, 2-1 the final there. The Mets have won 6 of 7. The Cardinals have lost 6 of 8. The Pirates and Phillies all tied up. The rest just getting underway. Let's get back to Sean and Ray.
And as always, thank you to John Saunders for the wonderful job he does keeping our ESPN viewers around the country up to date with all of the goings-on around Major League Baseball. Strike 1, Mark McGwire as we go to the 9th. 7-6, Detroit. McGwire's hitless in 3 trips. He walked and scored way back in the 1st. A ball, 1-1. McGwire, Steinbach, and Howard, the scheduled 3 against Mike Henneman. Henneman trying to save it for Paul Gibson. If he keeps throwing pitches like that, he will. Not much McGuire could do with that pitch except hope it was called a ball, and that's what he's saying now to Rich Garcia.
We see there Tony Phillips playing no doubles, not allowing the ball get by him. The outfielders playing very deep. Left fielder and right fielder playing almost on the warning track. Cecil Fielder a little bit off the line, but still able to knock the ball down.
2-2. Oh boy. Where did that pitch miss?
I don't know.
Tough to tell where that missed. I mean, we try to tell you when we think it missed high, low, inside, outside, maybe high. That's the only thing you could say about that one.
That man's 6'5". That ball was below the mass. You usually look at the top of the helmet of the catcher for a pitch as high.
Strike 3. That didn't look to be as good a pitch as the previous one. McGuire really shouldn't be. He was lucky to still be standing there after he watched the previous pitch go by.
And I think umpires consciously do that. They miss a pitch. They know they miss a pitch. They come back, a pitcher makes a quality pitch, and they give it to him. I don't agree with that. I think if you miss a pitch, don't give it back to the guy, because now the hitter has to expand his strike zone.
That's
but
true.
Still, nonetheless, both of those pitches were pretty good pitches.
When you get into it, he's been ejected. He tossed the helmet away as he went into the dugout, and he was ejected. Rich Garcia making sure perhaps he's ejected somebody else. We were talking earlier, it's obvious that the Athletics have not been pleased with Rich Garcia tonight. Tony La Russa came out earlier protecting Ricky Henderson, who was arguing a called strike.
And Dave Stewart, obviously in the 4th inning, thought that Richie was squeezing him.
We mentioned Richie has a short temper. He's a fine umpire. One of the best, certainly, but it doesn't take much to get him excited, and when he's excited, you can easily tell. He's rather demonstrative in displaying his emotions.
And you're right. I had great respect for Richie because he gave you everything he had all the time. Sometimes umpires, there's certain umpires you feel become complacent back there, especially in a game like this, seeing maybe 300 pitches. But here's the pitch, fastball away, moving back.
Could easily be a strike.
That ball is right there. The late movement of that ball could have got part of that plate. But I think sometimes a hitter gives up on that pitch away, especially a guy like Henneman, who has that real good late movement. It's a lot like a backdoor breaking ball from a left-hander.
Now Garcia again. I think he's shooing McGuire out of the dugout. He is. McGuire is still standing in the dugout and still hollering at Garcia. And Richie's saying, get out of here. You have been ejected. And now Mark heads down the tunnel.
But as a hitter, all you ask is the umpire be consistent. If he's called that pitch a strike all night, you've got to know it.
I think he's done a nice job tonight. As you point out, he's had a lot of pitches to look at, different types of delivery. Certainly a big contrast between Tanana and Stewart. And when we don't notice the umpires, as we have not tonight, that generally means, at least from this vantage point, they're doing a good job. I don't think Tony La Russa shares that opinion.
Well, of course not, because it's gone against him. But I agree with you. A man that looks at 350 pitches or so a night.
That's down to Phillips. And Steinbach is the second out of the 9th inning. $21,738 on hand here at Tiger Stadium. Basketball season is over, and the attention of the sports fans of Detroit turns to the resurgent Tigers, who are 1 out away from being 1 game below 500 and making it 2 in a row over the defending world champions. Henneman will have to deal with a pinch hitter. Ron Hasse will bat for Steve Howard. Hasse's hitting 176, just 19 hits and 108 at bats. He's 0 for 3 this year as a pinch hitter. We'll be joining the Padres and Giants at Candlestick in just a moment. We can tell you that the Padres lead that game in the first inning 3-0. Chris Berman and Tommy Hutton will explain how the Padres scored the 3 runs when we join them. A ball low to Hasse. If he can keep it going, Willie Randolph would bat next. Outside corner, a called strike. There's no place like home for Mike Henneman. Blown away. 2 balls, 1 strike. Henneman with 51 career saves coming into tonight is 5th on the all-time Tiger save list.
He has great movement on that fastball, though, doesn't he? That ball just almost like a split finger. He does not throw a split finger. It's just that great arm action that he has when he kind of slings that ball in there.
Here's the 2-2 pitch.
Proud body, you missed it. He got a piece of it. And got a piece of Richie Garcia, which must make Mark McGwire smile as he's watching in the clubhouse.
And Richie Garcia, like a lot of ball players, he's not going to rub it. He's kind of ticked off himself right now. He wouldn't. There's no way in the world he'd let those Oakland A's know that he's hurting right now.
Again, the 2-2. Base hit, right field. Oakland is still alive.
Situation here where I'm pretty sure Tony will use a pinch runner.
Lance Blankenship comes on to run for Hasse. Hasse was 3 for his last 30 before that pinch hit single with 2 outs of the 9th. Blankenship represents the potential tying run at 7-6 Detroit. With 2 outs at the top of the 9th, that base hit sent Sparky to the water cooler.
And this is a situation where a guy like Kenny Phelps not having him can hurt you. Willie Randolph being a right-handed hitter, you would think that La Russa would pinch hit in this situation.
And it appears that he will. Randolph has been called back, and Doug Jennings is swinging a bat in the on-deck circle. Jennings to bat for Randolph. Doug has spent much of this season at AAA Tacoma. He's appeared in 11 games for Oakland with a 194 average. He's driven in 5 runs. He has no official at-bats as a pinch hitter this year. "14 hits now for Oakland. The base hit by Hasse, the first surrendered by Henneman. The Padres and Giants coming up next. They will have a tough act to follow on ESPN tonight. This has been a most entertaining ball game. Jennings hot lately. He started out 0 for 12 after joining the Athletics from Tacoma on May 30th. Since then, he's 5 for his last 16. Straight back, strike 1.
You're wondering about Lance Blankenship stealing bases. He stole 40 in 1988 in Tacoma. So he can steal a base, but with 2 outs, I imagine they're going to hit him on around there, him being only the tying run.
He has 2 steals this year and a limited number of opportunities. He hasn't been on base much. He's been caught once trying to steal. A little bit high and away. He's tried to bring it back in. It's a ball, 1-1.
Sparky said you start thinking in the 6th inning what the matchup is going to be in the 9th inning. Who do you want up there? So obviously he wants Mike Henneman against Jennings because he has a left-hander, Jerry Don Gleaton, ready.
Two balls, one strike. Fouled away. And again, the Tigers are one strike away from victory. That brings the fans back to their feet. 2 outs, top of the 9th. The runner at first, it's Lance Blankenship. Detroit 7, Oakland 6. The 2-2 pitch. Line drive right at the second baseman, Whitaker. And the Tigers have taken 2 straight from the Oakland Athletics. They're now within 1 game of 500 and coming on fast in the American League East. 7-12-1 for the Tigers. They left 9, 6-13, rather 14-1 for Oakland. They left 9. Gibson the winner, Stewart the loser, Henneman the save.